Front, it's Carlton Morris and Elijah Adebayo. The bench for Luton is Tim Krul, Dan Potts, Luke Berry, Corley Woodrow, Tahith Chong, Penny Radakampanzu, Andros Townsend, Joe Johnson and Zach Nelson. Quick run through of Brighton. They have Jason Steele in goal. They're playing a back four of Purvis Estupinan, Lewis Dunk, Jan-Paul Van Heck and Igor Julio. The midfield three, Billy Gilmore, Pascal Gross and James Milder. And up front, João Pedro, Danny Welbeck and Facundo Buonanotte. So that's how Brighton line up tonight, and they're up against Luton Town this evening. The Hatters sticking with Morris and Adebayo up front, which they haven't done too often in the Premier League this season, Simon Oxley.
No, they haven't. They worked well together on Saturday, although that was more of a three with Townsend on the right-hand side, Morris surging forward down the left with Adebayo down the middle. It'll be interesting to see whether Jordan Clark just is a straight swap for Townsend, or whether Clark slots more into midfield and you just have the two up front. But it is important. These home games, we've talked about them, using the atmosphere, using the occasion here. 4 of the next 5 Premier League games are at home, with that Liverpool postponement now. So after Newcastle, and including this, then Newcastle away, then Sheffield United, Manchester United and Aston Villa, they've got to pick up points at home.
Brighton start us off then, and immediately they play centrally. Luton have won it, and it's with Adebayo, who's thinking about shooting there, lays it off to the right hand side. Obene is there, into the box. Obene crossing, far post, header at the far post. Adebayo is there, Adebayo is touched in, and it's been given, and Luton Town have scored in 21 seconds here at Kenilworth Road. What a start for the Hatters. Brighton kicked us off. They played little 1-2s in the centre of the pitch. Luton robbed them of possession. Then the ball was clipped in by Obene. It was one at the far post, and Adebayo then touched in the 6-yard box, and Brighton are stunned. 20 seconds on the clock. Luton Town 1, Brighton 0.
Well, just really sloppy from the get-go from Brighton, and really sharp from Luton. Here's Obene, we're getting a second look, drifts it into the back post, he's headed down, and there's a little touch on from Elijah Adebayo. I mean, the referee is still waiting just to be absolutely sure, and there may be a check from VAR, but certainly from all the evidence that we have, he just does get a little touch there, Adebayo, and there's somebody playing him on. It has to stand, and it will. What a start.
Yeah, the referee is just still waiting, Robert Jones. VAR is Peter Banks. My only concern is that there's been a lot made on Match of the Day. It's been given, I think, about Luton and possible bits of pushing inside the penalty area, but there didn't look like any of that was going on there. And Luton do lead. It stands. VAR have a quick look, but VAR says no, nothing wrong with that. And Luton have got off to a very fast start, and they're looking to win the ball back again on this right-hand side now. Obene feeds Clark up towards Adebayo, who turns. Adebayo goes back to Lokonga, and Lokonga now goes back to Osho. And get ready for the noise around the Kenny, because what a start for Luton. Not even 30 seconds on the clock, and the Hatters are 1 up. What an opportunity. Just what you want, just to settle everybody down as Luton smash the ball forwards. Obene could be in here. Obene gets the ball first. It's going to be 2-0 to Luton down. Obene scores. It's a crossfield pass from left to right. Obene got there ahead of Steele, and once he'd got there, he went past him easily. Steele couldn't bring him down, and Obene touches home from about 2 yards out himself. Can you believe this? Less than 2.5 minutes gone when that goal went in. It's Luton Town 2, Brighton and Hove Albion 0.
Well, you talked on your tactics board, didn't you, about getting them in behind those back 2 centre halves, and they've just absolutely gone to sleep there, Brighton. I mean, it's a great ball played through, and Obene gets there. What Steele? Well, I suppose Steele has to come. Steele's just arguing at the moment with anyone who'll listen, mostly Gilmore. And you say he can't bring him down, he'd have been sent off. I'm sure it wouldn't have just been a yellow card, he'd have had to have gone, and Obene's touched it past him and tapped it into the empty net. It's an astonishing start from the visitors. Yes, Luton have been excellent and have been right at it, but it's as much that Brighton haven't as Luton playing well.
Unbelievable. Luton Town 2-0 up. 2.5 minutes gone. Incredible stuff at the Kenny. It's almost unbelievable. This is a Brighton side that are 7th in the table, that have been scoring goals for fun recently. They've been giving some of the big teams huge problems, but they're already 2-0 down, and knowing that they are in a huge game now, they probably can't get their heads around it. They've given the ball away again, and here's Jordan Clark trying to get away down the right hand side. That was Estupinian giving the ball away. Brighton have it back again. I think what they need to do is just clear their lines as Luton nick it away again in there, down their left hand side, but Burke has fouled, and then João Pedro gives Burke a little bit of a kick, and the Luton fans know all about João Pedro and his Watford connections, and the referee just having a word with Pedro now, and it's going to be a free kick to Brighton in the left back position.
Well, just looking at how Brighton are lining up, Van Heck is playing at right back, isn't he? And Igor Julio is alongside Dunk with Estupinian on this left hand side, but which is a slight difference to what we were expecting, and they're playing like they've never played together at the moment, that back four.
Brighton are going to carry on playing out, which is what they'll do. The problem is, if you don't get it absolutely spot on, Luton can nick it off of them, and that's what the Hatters have done so far. Again, they'll play through the middle. Pedro through the middle. Pedro gets away with that one, and Welbeck's chasing away for this one down the left-hand side. When he'll get there. Welbeck getting booed as well, because he, of course, was at Watford too. Here's another ex-Watford player, Pedro. Tries a 1-2, doesn't come off. Osho half clears. Just took a little bit of a risk there. Osho gets away with it, and now Obene clears up towards Adebayo, who chests down. Brighton have nicked it off of him. Brighton have it now, feeding it to Pedro. Pedro in the box, across goal, and it wasn't far away from Welbeck, who could have made that 2-1 if he had stuck a leg out a bit quicker and got on the end of that one. Very open game so far, as Morris is fouled over that far side, and Brighton come close to pulling one back there.
Thought he was going to score that, Welbeck. He's just got to slide in there, hasn't he? Just looking at it again on the screen, João Pedro rolls it into the back post, and he sort of pulled his legs back, doesn't he, Welbeck? If he slides in, he scores. Very odd. I thought he was going to just slot that one in, I have to say. Bit of a let-off.
Sort of stops his run, doesn't he?
He stopped,
very odd. Brighton have it inside their own half at the moment. They're 2-0 down already in the early stages. It's played up towards Pedro. Pedro lays it off to Gilmour. Gilmour back to Pedro, left-hand side. Pedro, who had so much ability, is getting better as the Premier League season carries on. Tries to put it through the legs of Burke, and then Luton have nicked it off of him. Clark comes across, and Pedro fouls him, and this is going to be a free kick to Luton. Rob Edwards knows all about João Pedro. They work together.
Yeah, albeit briefly, but he was singing his praises, wasn't he, yesterday in the press conference. He's always done well against Luton when he's been at home, both at Vicarage Road and, of course, first game of the season, but didn't score the 2 times he's played here with Watford, including the 2-0 in last season.
Here he is again, Pedro, seen more of the ball than probably anybody else in a Brighton shirt at the moment. Still has it, getting shut down, and then gets fouled by Clark, and then Burke follows it up a little bit. Free kick to the Seagulls, who are 2-0 down in these early stages. And this ball is played forwards now. It's a poor one though, and here is Doughty. Doughty picking up, skips round a midfielder. Doughty tries to get it out to the right hand side, and Brighton cut it out again. The Hatters look like they mean business tonight. Very sprightly at the moment, and looking very confident too, as Brighton go backwards and almost get themselves in trouble. And Julio not happy with that pass back that he received just there.
No, wasn't, was he? And made sure everybody knew about it as well.
It's with Steele. Now let's watch what Steele does. There he goes, plays it to Gilmour, edge of the penalty area, and Luton will just try and nick it off of them when they do that, because they pretty much do that every time they get the ball, Brighton.
Yeah, he played it short, or they ended up playing it back to Dunk, and he drives it forward to Buonanotte, and the Argentinian was clattered into from behind by Doughty, but yeah, Luton are swarming around them on the edge of the box. But
they can do that, a little clip ball over the top, and Luton in a bit of trouble now, and Milner into the penalty area. Milner is going to hook a shot away, but it's going to go wide. James Milner with a good run into that right channel, and Luton hadn't tracked him, and he's won his team a corner kick. It's very open out there.
It is. Got to stay alert, haven't they, there? That was Milner with the best will in the world, not João Pedro scampering away. That was Milner, whose days of pace are long gone, and he was still away and clear.
His legs just ran out a little bit, didn't they? He's going to take the corner kick though. Milner, former Liverpool man, signed on a free transfer. He'll get it back again from Gilmour. Edge of the penalty area it goes. Gross is there, and Gross shoots first time, and over the bar it goes into the Kenny end. 2-0 Luton lead. Opening goal from Adebayo inside the first 25 seconds, and the second 2.5 minutes in through Obene, who rounded the goalkeeper, who would have been sent off. He was outside his penalty area, so the referee would have had no choice. They're trying to get Obene away again down that right hand side. Barkley trying to feed him, but this time Brighton cut it out, and it's played backwards and then nudged forwards now by Julio, the central defender, who's playing to the left of the central positions. Backwards they go to Steele, and Steele to Dunk. Dunk under pressure, plays it forwards. Luton again win it back again. Here's Barkley in the midfield. Barkley goes backwards and gets it back again. Barkley, some skill from him, gets round a couple of the blue and white Brighton shirts, and now Clark just feeds this one to Burke. Burke to Obene. Obene, is he fouled from behind? I think he probably was by Estepinian, and the Hatters have a free kick just in front of the halfway line. Well, Luton's press is going to be so crucial tonight to stop Brighton playing those passes in that midfield area, and then if they can nick them, go and counter-attack. I mean, it's pretty obvious tactics, but it could easily work, and it's already worked in the first minute.
It has, but at the same time they've left themselves open a couple of times at this end. You don't feel it's the end of the scoring, do you? But what a start. I mean, 2 up in 2 minutes, beyond anyone's wildest dreams, and there's always a few latecomers, isn't there, for a 7:45? I wonder how many didn't see one or both.
Foul over on that far side, and it's Luton who've committed the foul close to the halfway line. The Kenny end think that it wasn't played where it should have been, and it's with João Pedro on this left hand side hugging the touchline. Pedro, the Brazilian, goes backwards to the Ecuador international Estepinian, who is actually another ex-Watford player, not that anybody would know because he didn't play a game for them. Here's Welbeck now into the penalty area. Welbeck away, shoots across goal. It was always going wide, and Kaminski didn't get a touch either, and it's going to go away for a goal kick. But that's what they can do, they can cut you open.
Yeah, I've done that twice now, 2 or 3 times. That was João Pedro just playing it through to Welbeck. João Pedro had gone central, Welbeck down the left-hand side. He sort of dragged his shot just wide. I think Kaminski had it covered. We're right in line here, but that back 3 for Luton, no Mengi. Osho has come in. I think had Mengi been fit, it would have been Mengi, Osho, Bell. No disrespect to Reece Burke, but Burke's got a job on keeping tabs on João Pedro.
Yep, as Brighton are forced back to their goalkeeper, Jason Steele. And Jason Steele's going to play out to the edge of his penalty area to Gross. Then it's cleared away by Dunk. Osho coming to the ball but won't get there. Doughty wins the next one, and then Dunk just allows the ball to go through his legs. Let's go all the way back to Jason Steele, whose career has been mainly at Championship level with the likes of Sunderland and Blackburn and Middlesbrough, but doing well for Brighton, particularly this season. Long ball forwards, goalkeeper Kaminski comes a long way out and gets there under pressure from Pedro. Osho's heading further away, then flicked on by Lokonga. Gilmour wins it in the middle of the park for Brighton. 12 minutes gone, 2-0 Luton lead as the Hatters win the ball, and it's Burke against Pedro. He gets the better of him. Here's Clark close to the halfway line, nudges it to Obene. Obene going round his man, and that's surely going to be a yellow card for the defender who just brought him down there. Igor Julio just stood in his way. Obene had nudged it round him and was just about to attack down that right hand side, and Julio knew he was in trouble and committed the foul, so he's on a yellow. Igor Julio, who doesn't look comfortable.
No, he doesn't at all. Absolutely not. And you're wondering whether De Zerbi will start thinking about it. Now he's on a yellow. We've only played 12 minutes and he's all over the place anyway. And the fact he's now on a yellow card. But Benny, it's the first time he's just got there first. He got there first for the head of the goalkeeper for the goal, but that's because Julio wasn't anywhere to be seen. But he just nipped it ahead of him and he was off and away. And he might have been in on goal, actually, as it turned out.
It's a bit of a surprise he is playing, actually. They've got Adam Webster on the bench and Jack Hinchelwood, who normally are ahead of him, as Luton play the free kick down that right side. Doughty is offside as he picks up. That's disappointing, and Rob Edwards just is a bit frustrated and turns away and looks up at the sky. I think feeling perhaps that was a bit of a wasted opportunity there, particularly how good Luton are on set pieces. Brighton take the free kick quickly. They've given it back to the Hatters though, and here's Obene, who looks as sprightly as he did at the beginning of the season. So it seems as though that injury issue has gone away for good now. Here is Bell and finding Barkley. Barkley in the middle of the park. Was he fouled? Yes, he was, says the referee. And this is going to be a free kick to Luton. Well, the Hatters won't mind the ball being in that congested midfield area, will they?
No, they're closing down very quickly, just swarming that area, really, aren't they? Doughty's joining in, and Obene as well, and Burke pushing up. Brighton player down injured. That earlier free kick, you're right, was disappointing, wasn't it? Barkley tried to roll in Doughty down the right-hand side. It was obviously one they'd practiced rather than sort of swing it into the mix. But they're just going to come over to this near side to get some fluids on board, I think, whilst the Brighton player is down injured. Is it Gross? No, just on the edge of the centre circle. But I mean, if you're the coaching staff, Rob Edwards and his team, you're 14 minutes in, 2 up. I mean, it's a great start.
Yeah, perfect, isn't it? It's Milner who's down.
Oh yes,
I think he's just got back up now. Probably trying to adjust to the pace of the game, because it is very quick out there. It's an interesting one for Brighton with that the yellow card early on for Julio, playing as the left-sided centre-half alongside Lewis Dunk, and Van Heck playing at right back. It's a bit of a change to how they've lined up in the Premier League in their most recent games. As I said, in good form. I know there have been a few FA Cup games amongst all that lot, but they don't lose often. The last couple of games they played in the Prem, they drew 0-0 both times against Wolves and West Ham. That only defeat in those 10 games was against Arsenal, so that tells you that they are in pretty good nick. And yet Luton Town are 2 up already.
Well, it was a good win for them in the Cup, wasn't it, on Saturday at Sheffield United, scoring plenty of goals. Again, with a relatively strong side, didn't rest too many. Europa League as well, still in that. But Milner's gone off to come back on, but Luton have got the free kick.
It's Jack Hinshelwood down below us who is warming up. He's the only one warming up for Brighton, and he is the obvious replacement if they did want to make a change in that defence that looks particularly shaky. Luton already 2-0 up, only 15 minutes gone, just coming up to 16, as Barkley's going to smash this ball across left-hand side to Doughty. Just a bit too much pace on it, sort of fizzed it across from that central position to the left, and it was too far ahead of Doughty, and the ball goes out of play for a throw-in.
You know, we talked about set pieces now. That was again a planned move, wasn't it? Because he's pinged it out, Barkley, to the left-hand side. Morris has ducked underneath it for Doughty to pick up the ball, and it just sort of raced away from Doughty.
Those Luton supporters in the main stand not happy, but here come Luton again. Adebayo nicked it off of Brighton, and now he's fouled his man. The supporters for Luton weren't happy because they felt the throw-in was being taken about 5 yards ahead of where it should have been. But the noise they made still didn't deter Van Heck, who took it, and it didn't bring in Robert Jones, the referee, to pull him up on it. So Brighton start again, and they play it again in that central position, and Gilmour just about gets it away under big pressure from Lokonga, who is right tight up against him, trying to nick the ball off of him. It's such a risky policy when you play a central pass out from there to your central midfielder who's on the edge of the penalty area. Any little mistake from Gilmour and Lokonga is in on his own and through on goal. There are obvious reasons why you do it, to draw the press, but it's risky. They have it again with the goalkeeper and play it out to the left-hand side now. And here is the centre half. Was that a push there? Yes, it was, from Amari Bell on Buonanotte, who's hardly seen anything of the ball, the teenager. Argentinian can't get in the game.
Just got to be a little bit careful, Luton, because they're not quite getting there, are they? And there's a couple of times there's been a foul, and eventually the referee, on a sort of totting up procedure, will think, well, it's probably somebody might get a yellow card.
Free kick to Brighton outside the penalty area, and they'll launch it out to the right-hand side. Comfortable for Doughty, who heads down to Bell. It's a ball clearance from Bell, gives it straight to a blue and white shirt, and then as Pedro picked it up, he was shut down quickly by Lokonga. There's no room for error in defence when you play a ball out like that.
It was sloppy, wasn't it?
It was sloppy, but it causes so many problems, doesn't it? Because these teams are so good at sort of taking those opportunities. They didn't that time. But that was because of good work from Luton. Here's Barkley nudging forwards to Clark. Jordan Clark back in the team from injury. And in the Premier League side as well now, Clark, beyond the halfway line. He's obviously somebody that Rob Edwards really trusts as a player. Into the midfield area it goes, and Lokonga now to Amari Bell. Bell just looking up and looking at options, goes backwards to Kaminsky out to that left-hand side, but Lokonga couldn't control it. It was rather fizzed at him.
They kept possession there for a while, haven't they? Haven't got forward with it. There was a couple of times when they could have got the ball forward. They've just tried to keep it that little bit longer.
Here's the sub. It's Milner, who hasn't recovered from that knock. So James Milner off and Hinshelwood on. So what will that mean for them? Hinshelwood is normally a right back or a right wing back. So maybe they'll go with 3 centre halves, and Van Heck will move in alongside Duncan Julio, which could completely change their game plan.
Yeah, looks like we're certainly going over to the right hand side, isn't he, Jack Hinshelwood? Over on that right side, and the three of them are lining up now. So you've got Julio on the left and Dunk in the middle, and Van Heck on the right of a three.
Yeah, obviously concerned enough to want another centre half to deal with Adebayo and Morris, I suppose.
Is that tactical, or is it because Milner's injured?
I don't know, maybe a bit of both.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because Milner's injured and then he thinks, well, actually it might be an opportunity to then go with 3. They played 3 against Sheffield United in the FA Cup on Saturday, and they're now gone with 3 again. They normally play 2 centre-backs in the Premier League, but maybe just because they're a handful up top, that has changed De Zerbi's approach. Here is Van Heck, the centre-half, Dutchman, 23 years old. Up it goes to Welbeck. Welbeck up against Osho. It's now up towards João Pedro's touch, as you can expect, is very good. Continues to get booed. It's fed out to that right-hand side. And now Hinshelwood plays it into the midfield area to Gross. Gross turns away from Adebayo. Gross now to Gilmour, and Gilmour back to Dunk. Dunk has been a great servant for Brighton. Been at the club since he's 12 years old. He's now 32. Luton are very happy with the pressing, the fans that is. They started applauding once the second one went in.
Them all the way back, haven't they?
That's what they like to see. It's what we saw last season, Si, in the Championship, which caused them so much, it got them so much credit and success. We didn't know whether they could do it in the Premier League because they might get too exposed, but they've started to do it, and they've caused Premier League teams huge problems by doing it.
They haven't, they certainly did there.
Here's Morris now after Bell's pass. Morris trying to feed it into the gap for Clark. Doesn't quite reach him, and it's dealt with by Van Heck. His clearance is very poor. Morris picks up now. Morris looking to play it to Barkley and does so. Shoots the crowd. Barkley still has possession. 2 Brighton shirts around him. Gives it to the centre half, and Burke is shooting, and it gets deflected for a corner kick, and it's a set piece for Luton Town. And that
first corner.
Yes. You'd think that it was a penalty kick.
Well, I mean, it's going to be difficult against Brighton from set plays, you would think. You look at the back there, Van Heck. I mean, Dunk on his own is, it's like having an oak tree at the back there, isn't it? But let's see.
So, Alfie Doughty to take the first corner kick for Luton, and the first one will be an outswinger in front of the Oak Road end. Doughty. In comes the delivery now. Outside the 6-yard box it goes. It was towards Morris. It might be kept in play by Clark, and he does keep it in play. Clark is going to cross in himself. Near post, left-footed, and Brighton deal with it. Oak Road end has got safe standing where Brighton are. Here's Obene. Obene's going to pick up. They thought it would be in place. Barkley with a chance to shoot. Barkley, can he make room for himself? No, but he'll give it to Clark. Clark on his left foot shoots. It's a good save from Steele. That was very nearly 3-0 because Clark cut in from the right-hand side and hit a low-footed shot down into the bottom right-hand corner, and Steele had to stick out a long leg and keep that one out of play. Luton Town on the attack again. We're halfway through the first half. It's 2-0, and it was very nearly 3-0, Simon Oxley.
It was, and perhaps should have been, he hit it a bit too close to the goalkeeper in some ways. A good save from Steele, but a little bit too close to the goalkeeper maybe. He had a corner to aim at. Anyway, here's the corner for Luton. Doughty takes it left-footed in towards the back post. Osho's up there, still not dealt with. Barkley trying to get a shot away. Brighton half clear, comes out to Clark on the edge of the box. Doughty plays it all the way back to Amari Bell. Looked like there was a handball there, but I think it hit the Brighton player from fairly close range. Lokonga clips it back into the box. Obene is onside, headed back across, but now the flag goes up on this near side for offside against Chidozie Obene. And again, just causing a few problems from the ball into the mix.
Yeah, these Premier League teams don't like it, do they? They're very good technically. They love playing this football where they can play their nice stuff. But when it's rough and ready like it can be when you play Luton, I sometimes think some players just don't fancy it so much.
Lokonga playing the ball back to Kaminski, was just caught late there by the Brighton player, who is now rolling almost into the town centre. Lokonga was caught late, and the Brighton player, I can't quite see who it is, who stayed down. Is it Gross or possibly Gilmore? And actually Lokonga has been shown the yellow card. Not quite sure how that's worked out. Let's have another look. Oh, he was a bit high, Lokonga. He did leave it a foot in there, but he was perhaps the one who was fouled. In fairness, having looked at it again, he's sort of stretching for the ball, but the player has run into him, and he has picked up quite an injury sort of up his thigh there, but it appeared the initial foul was on Lokonga. Let's have another look here. Lokonga's stretching, he's got the ball, and then it's Buonanotte who's made quite a lot of it, but I don't know.
He can't pull his foot away though.
No, he can't, because Buonanotte has run into him.
Yeah, I mean, yes, his foot is high and his studs are showing.
He's got the ball.
He's won the ball initially,
and then it's entitled to go for it.
He's entitled to go for it. His studs are up, but he hasn't meant to go in like that. No. On the Argentinian. So I think it's a fair decision. It might even be a bit unlucky to have picked up a yellow card there.
Yeah. I mean, they've obviously had a look with a view to a red, but they've decided that the player has sort of run into his foot, although his foot is high, so probably is about right. But initially it looked as though he'd been the one fouled, Lokonga. But it's a Brighton free kick, 2-0 to Luton, 25 minutes gone. Ball drifted into the edge of the box, headed away by Barkley, and then Jordan Clark clips it out to the left-hand side because he thought Doughty was there. Doughty wasn't, and Brighton have the throw, and Luton have just got to keep switched on, even if they make a mistake. No point dwelling on it. We've got to get back on and get on with the game. And Brighton coming forward doing just that now. Ball in towards Welbeck, edge of the penalty area. Back to goal, Danny Welbeck. Flicks it back to Gilmore. Back again to Welbeck. Welbeck twisting and turning. Goes back to Gross. Flick through for Welbeck to chase after. Kaminski will come and dive on it. And the Belgian goalkeeper gets there first ahead of Danny Welbeck, who's being shepherded away by Amari Bell, and Kaminski called for it, and Kaminski got it. Luton 2, Brighton 0. It's Three Counties Sport. It's a Tuesday evening at Kenilworth Road. Simon Oxley and Jeff Doyle with you at Kenilworth Road. Luton 2 up in 2 minutes, but again having to defend here as it's played in towards the edge of the box, and Gross twisting and turning, shot comes in, blocked by Lokonga, comes out to João Pedro inside the penalty area, comes back to the edge of the box, it's flicked forward again by Pascal Gross, but the German's effort was more of a cross than a shot, and straight through to Kaminski.
Yeah, but that's twice now. Morris trying to hold the ball up, played up to him, takes a nice first touch, then gives it away, which leads to that problem. And just before that, it wasn't quite good enough from Jordan Clark, just knocking the ball out of play over on that far side. Got to keep possession better, Luton, against these really good teams.
Well, they managed to get the ball up towards the halfway line now, just sort of playing it out from the back. There are a few oohs and ahs and a bit of anxiety from the crowd, but it's clipped forward now for Jordan Clark to chase after down the left-hand side, and he gets ahead of Lewis Dunk, and Dunk makes the challenge and knocks into Clark, and it will be a throw to Brighton. Some of the fans over on that far side thought it was a foul by the big centre-half on Jordan Clark, but referee and assistant say no. Brighton throw midway inside their own half. Hinchell with the substitute throws it forward. João Pedro flicks it on, but Osho is there to play it back to Thomas Kaminski. 28 minutes gone. Luton 2, Brighton 0. Those early goals from Adebayo and Obene. Long ball for Doughty to chase after down the left-hand side. Flicked away by Hinchelwood. Doughty just trying to shepherd it out of play and wins the throw down by the corner flag. Left-hand side for Luton in their orange shirts, dark shorts, orange socks. Attacking the Oak Road end away to our right. We remember we're up in the gantry on the new Bobbers stand. Throw from Doughty in towards Ross Barkley. Barkley trying to go between two players, but can't manage to do so, and Brighton bring it away with Gilmour, who rolls the ball forward, intercepted by Jordan Clark. Now Lokonga, who backheels it looking for Clark and gives it away there, Lokonga, and then runs into a Brighton player and may just have to be careful here, Sambi Lokonga. The Brighton players stayed down, referee's played advantage, and Doughty puts the ball out of play. Lokonga will claim he ran into the Brighton player there, and he'd be as well just to clear off out of the way, Sambi Lokonga, before the referee remembers that he's already booked him.
Yeah, I don't think there was too much in it, but Lokonga's just got to calm down. I mean,
Gross is just sort of gesticulating as if to say he elbowed me in the head, but I don't think that was the case.
No.
But he did bundle him over, but Sambi Lokonga's just got to be a little bit careful.
Well, it's because he was frustrated, because he tried that back heel.
Yes, which was
go 4-0 up, maybe try a back heel when there are 4 minutes to go, yes. But not in the first half.
Even then you'd think about it.
Yes. But then, because he was annoyed about that, and then he went in just too strongly.
Brighton go back to keeper Steele, who's closed down by Adebayo, plays it across to Dunk. Dunk clears upfield. João Pedro lays it off, and Estepinian has got some space now down the left-hand side for the visitors. Now Julio just over the halfway line, back to Pedro. Pedro skips away from one challenge, back to Dunk, back to Julio again, but that Luton press is there again, forcing Brighton back. It's rolled forward for Buonanotte to chase after, but Albania is there to get it back to Kaminski, and Kaminski clears up towards the halfway line. Free header away from Hinshelwood, inside to Gilmour. Back to Van Heck. Gilmour now looks up, looks for the run from the back from Estepinian, but he can't control it, and it goes through to Kaminski once again, pushing a little bit. First time we've seen him get forward, the Ecuador player there, Estepinian.
Yeah. But the good thing is, we played half an hour now, and although they've had a couple of little balls into the box and a couple have gone across goal, Kaminski hasn't really had a proper save to make, has he?
No. Here he is now, Kaminski, clearing the ball upfield. Morris chests it into the path of Adebayo. Adebayo over the halfway line. Still Adebayo, holds off one challenge, gets it out to Obeni down the right-hand side. Reece Burke steaming forward on the overlap. Obeni threads it into the edge of the box. Might come to Adebayo. Good tackle from Gilmour. Clark tried to flick it inside. Gilmour brings it away, forward towards Welbeck, who gets there ahead of Amari Bell, but Gabe Osho is there to volley it back upfield, and it will bounce through to Steele, and Steele rolls it out quickly. Half an hour gone. Luton 2, Brighton 0. On BBC Three Counties Radio this Tuesday evening. Early goals, well, Adebayo after 20 seconds and Obene about 90 seconds later. What a start at Kenilworth Road, and Luton are still creating chances. Here's Jordan Clark trying to work his way through, but Pascal Gross got a foot in now. Gilmour, who manages to find a way through and find Welbeck. Welbeck surging forward over the halfway line. Reece Burke with him. He looks to play Hinshelwood in behind, but Amari Bell is there to clear and put the ball out of play for a Brighton throw. Van Heck takes it over on the far side for the visitors. Back inside to Gilmour with that strapping on his left arm. The Scottish midfielder, João Pedro, flicks it inside. Brighton win a throw midway inside the Luton half. Luton fans almost forgot to boo there because João Pedro had cropped up on the right-hand side rather than the left, but they've realised who it is now, the former Watford player. Here's Pascal Gross to Hinshelwood, flicks the ball forward to Pedro. Pedro coming from deep and now finds Buonanotte over on the far side. The Argentinian clips it into the box. It's a poor cross straight to Kaminski.
Yeah, he's just been disappointing tonight, hasn't he, the youngster over on that right-hand side. Hasn't seen a lot of the ball. When he's had it, he's given the ball away. And Luton will be happy now just to slow things down a little bit. 12 and a half minutes to go until half-time. After that quick-fire start to the game, they'll be just pleased to go in at half-time, 2-0 up the Hatters if they can.
Kaminski's clearance towards Doughty, who's trying to control it, but Brighton win it back just over the halfway line. Van Heck forward towards Buonanotte, but Luton get a foot in, and here's Adebayo now bearing down on the edge of the penalty area. Inside the box, Adebayo forced out wide, wins the corner. Tried to, or thought about flicking it inside to Jordan Clark, but couldn't really find a way through. Went to the outside, and defenders got back and concede the corner. On the left-hand side for Luton, at the Oak Road end, Brighton fans looking on, and Luton fans as well over on that far side. Around 1,000 Brighton fans, a number of whom are standing at the back with that safe standing, newly installed, as Jeff was saying. 12 minutes to go until half-time. 2-0 to Luton. Doughty to take the corner. On the Luton left. Chilly evening at Kenilworth Road, but Hatters fans being warmed by the scoreline on the electronic board above the Oak Road end as Doughty curls in the corner towards Morris, headed away by Dunk. It'll come back out to Doughty, who tries to take it in his stride, and it's cleared out of play by Pedro onto the roof of the Oak Road end, and it will be another corner which Doughty will take. The choice of balls, because the ball boy has helpfully thrown one out onto the pitch, and the other ball, the original ball, bounced down off the roof, and he's opted for the new one, Alfie Doughty. So another corner, left-hand side for Luton, who lead 2-0. Here he comes again, Alfie Doughty. Everybody back for Brighton. Doughty swings it in just too high for Morris, headed away by Van Heck. And Jordan Clark goes all the way back to Kaminski, who's midway inside his own half, and Kaminski clips it forward right-footed towards Doughty, headed away by Van Heck to Barkley on halfway, back to Amari Bell, and Bell back to Gabe Osho, who's closed down by Welbeck, but plays it across to Kaminski, under pressure as well from Welbeck. Kaminski down the right-hand side towards Obene, who heads it inside to Jordan Clark, back to Obene up to the edge of the area, back again to Clark inside the box, gets the cross into the back post, and nobody had gambled and made the run. Doughty retrieves it far side. Here's Barkley, edge of the area, back to Amari Bell just holds on to it, back again to Ross Barkley cuts away from one challenge onto his right foot, thinks about the shot, plays it in towards Morris, who turns on the edge of the box and is rolled over by Van Heck. Morris going down, Van Heck annoyed, free kick Luton.
I know, I mean, I just sometimes feel like Premier League clubs, the way Luton are now playing in the Premier League, don't fancy this intensity, this pace of the game, the press, the pressure. I mean, I just think it's all a bit too much for them, even though they're some of the best players in the world. It's almost as though they don't know what's hit them.
10 minutes to go until half-time. Free kick won by Carlton Morris. Nice football, actually, from Luton. And, Doughty's there with his left foot, but it's slightly too wide, I think, for him to go back across the goalkeeper. I think this is going to be Ross Barkley with his right foot all day long. Plenty of players in the wall, including somebody who's lying behind the wall, in case they jump to try and get a touch on it. And Barkley decides to put it along the deck. Doughty's there, Barkley, here's Barkley, he takes it right-footed, it hits the wall and goes behind for another corner.
Yeah, well, it's more pressure though, isn't it, down that end of the pitch? And of course we know with the set pieces that Luton cause teams big problems. It looks like they're trying to aim for Carlton Morris, who's sort of just outside the 6-yard box in a very central position. It looks like Dunk is closest to him.
There's a bit of pushing and shoving in there. It's a right melee in there, to be honest. Referee's just letting them get on with it, I think. Here's Doughty, left-footed, swings it in again towards the near post, comes out to Jordan Clark back into the mix, and it takes a deflection and spins behind for a corner over on the right-hand side this time. Snapshot from Clark, which deflected off a defender who closed him down quickly, but it's another corner for Luton, and Doughty comes across to this near side to us, the Luton right, to swing in another one, and this time it'll curl in towards the back post.
Yeah, these ones are more preferable for Luton. When Doughty takes these in-swingers, they cause even more problems to opposition.
Here's Doughty then, left-footed, whips it in towards the near post, flicked away by Welbeck, comes out to Lokonga with a shot, it's blocked. Jordan Clark then dives in on the edge of the area, appeared to be fouled. Referee waves play on as João Pedro brings it away. Bell's clearance hits João Pedro, spins to Gilmore, but back inside his own half, but they do work it out to Hinshelwood over on the far side, but now it's back to Gilmore, and Luton are back in position. It looks as though they might have a quick break out there, Brighton, but Luton got back in numbers.
Yeah, got the challenge in on Pedro, didn't they? Bell read it nicely and just made sure that he certainly got the ball and smashed it against Pedro in the process too.
Here's Gilmore inside his own half, goes back to Hinshelwood up towards the halfway line. The Brighton substitute came on after just 20 minutes. Milner injured, although it may have been a tactical decision as well as Milner's injury. Dunk plays the ball back to Steele onto his right foot, goes long towards Welbeck and Pedro, and headed away by Reece Burke, but it breaks now for Welbeck again down this left-hand side for Brighton. Plays the ball back to Igor Julio into Welbeck again. Amari Bell gets a foot to it, but unfairly fouling Buonanotte. And it'll be a free kick to Brighton midway inside the Luton Town half.
Won't mind that too much, Luton, I don't think.
It's quite a way out, isn't it?
Quite a way out, and what Brighton are good at are just edge of the penalty area, just getting those little balls into the penalty area and finding those little gaps for those attacking three, Pedro and Welbeck and Buonanotte. They haven't quite found them yet on too many occasions, but a free kick in this position I think Luton would feel they can deal with.
Well, Kaminski's waiting. Pascal Gross is lining it up as though he's going to have a shot. He's about, 35 yards out. Here is Gross, clips it in right-footed, in fact, to the back post. Morris gets a slight nick on it and then walloped away by Osho before it can get to Lewis Dunk. Just did enough there, Carlton Morris. Hinchelwood was trying to get in at the back post. Now Bene, Doughty on the edge of the area, back to Kaminski, and Kaminski puts his foot through it and clears it up towards the halfway line where Van Heck misses it, but Julio is there to get it back to Steele, and it has to go all the way back to the Brighton goalkeeper.
Yeah, Luton might just think that they can capitalise when Brighton do push forward in numbers. See if they can get O'Bene away.
Forward towards Pedro. Pedro tackled by Burke, but unfairly, says the referee. Inside the Brighton half. Free kick taken quickly from the wrong place, but doesn't really gain an advantage. Luton fans have not been happy with the quick taking of free kicks, but more often than not it's been played backwards anyway. Played forward towards Buonanotte, but Amari Bell touches it back to Kaminski, headed back into the mix by Gross, and Buonanotte has come from an offside position and normally would leave it, but there was no one else, so he had to play it, and the flag duly goes up far side.
Yes, still good stuff from Luton defensively, keeping Brighton at bay at the moment. Side that score regularly, Brighton scored 5 against Sheffield United, didn't they, at the weekend? Do get a lot of penalties as well, don't they, this season?
Yep. He's got penalties. 10, hasn't he? João Pedro,
incredible,
10.
that.
More than anyone else in the top 5 leagues in Europe. Kaminski's clearance headed away by Van Heck. Barkley will shepherd it out of play. 4.5 minutes to go plus added time. Luton 2, Brighton 0. If you're just tuning in, we're on all frequencies tonight. Digital radio, Freeview channel 720, FM as well, and online in the UK. Welcome along wherever you're listening. Lokonga for Luton, just over the halfway line. 2 goals in the first 2 minutes. Morris trying to play it in behind for Doughty, but Hinchelwood just intercepts and then clips it forward for Estepinian to chase after, but too far ahead of the number 30, and it bounces out of play. They nearly got Doughty in there, didn't they?
They nearly did, yeah. And then on the other side, Estepinian thinks he might get away, but even if he does, O'Bene's going to catch him, because O'Bene has found that pace again, hasn't he, that he had at the beginning of the season. Just think in the second half, Luton might just be able to capitalise on that if they do go and push forwards a bit more, Brighton.
Estepinian on the halfway, but a short pass picked off by Barkley, plays it to Adebayo, back again to Barkley, back into Adebayo inside the box, Adebayo! 3-0 to Luton, Elijah Adebayo collides with a Brighton defender who goes down clutching his face, but the referee's not really interested. Elijah Adebayo certainly isn't, and Luton are 3 up against Brighton at Kenilworth Road. Lovely play, they nicked it off them again in midfield with Barkley, exchanges passes with Adebayo, and the big striker rolls it past Steele and goes off to celebrate his second goal of what has been a remarkable first half for Luton Town. 42 minutes gone, Luton 3, Brighton 0.
It's great play from Barkley, brilliant midfield play, spots where he can nick the ball, presses at the right time, wins it in midfield, then exchanges passes with Adebayo, and I love the way Adebayo finishes that. We've seen in the past Adebayo sometimes snatch at chances, but there he saw the goalkeeper, and I think he showed in the eyes. I think the goalkeeper thought he was going to go across goal, and Adebayo's gone near post.
Rolled to the near post, a great finish. And he did attract a little bit of criticism on Saturday, from me included, to be honest, when he could have rolled it across to Andros Townsend. I don't know if you saw the chance.
Yeah.
It was a good save from the Everton goalkeeper, but he really should have rolled it across to Townsend, and Luton would have been back in front. Ultimately, it didn't matter, but there he's made absolutely the right decision, and a great finish.
Yeah, it really is. Composure, good composure. That's sometimes where he falls short a little bit, but certainly not there. It helps when you've already scored as well, of course.
Yes, his confidence will be sky high. Kaminski clears the ball upfield. Dunk heads it away. Osho is there to head it away again for Luton, but the referee spotted I think foul by Adebayo, or offside perhaps, as he challenged for the first ball through. Anyway, it's a free kick to Brighton, who've got 90 seconds plus added time to try and salvage something from this first half. Luton 3, Brighton 0 on BBC Three Counties Radio. Here's João Pedro, beaten to it by Reece Burke. Headed away by the Brighton defence. Here's Barkley again, muscled off the ball by Buonanotte. And the Argentinian can't believe the decision, but referee Robert Jones has been quite hot on those. Interesting, the referee on Saturday, I know the same in your cup game, that wouldn't have been given on Saturday, and there were I think there were 2 yellow cards, and even then you had to drag the cards out of his pocket, more or less. Luton take the free kick, was headed back to the Brighton goalkeeper. We're back to those sort of things being given. Saturday, play on.
Yeah, it's noticeable, isn't it? Noticeable.
Oh, clearance from Steele. Adebayo got a foot to it, but it works its way through to João Pedro, then gives it to Barkley. Back again to Adebayo on the edge of the penalty area. Still Adebayo with his back to goal. Plays it back to Lukonga, who leaves it for Gabe Osho. Osho onto his right foot out to this right-hand side to Obene. Approaching added time. Luton 3, Brighton 0. Lukonga back inside to Osho. Osho short to Barkley. Barkley back again to Gabe Osho. And Osho will play it all the way back to Kaminski. Closed down by Gross. Kaminski clears down the right-hand side. Estepinian heads it up in the air. Obene makes the challenge. Obene keeps it in. Clark flicks it forward to Adebayo, who flicks it away from Dunk. And Julio was there to make the interception. And Dunk was absolutely left standing. Brighton play it forward again, but straight through to Kaminski. 5 minutes of added time?
5, yeah, seems a lot, doesn't it?
Well, there was a bit of a wait on the first goal, wasn't there? A bit of a VAR check.
Milner's
injury, of course, and a substitution, so probably about right. Kaminski clears the ball upfield. Long one for Morris to chase after. Van Heck heads it away. Gross flicks it on. João Pedro brings it under control. Amari Bell is there to clear, and Doughty flicks it forward for Morris to chase after, but it goes out of play for a Brighton throw. It's a lovely turn from Adebayo.
Lovely, wasn't it?
I mean, Dunk had gone out and come back in again. I mean, it was one of those, wasn't it? Brighton have stolen another, at least 10 yards with the throw over on the far side. Anyway, here's João Pedro turning away from Barkley towards Welbeck. Burke gets a foot in. Welbeck wins it back again up towards the edge of the area. Back heels it for Buonanotte. Buonanotte plays it back to Julio. Julio closed down, finds Estepinian. Estepinian plays it inside, and Buonanotte, dwelling on the ball, is tackled by Clark, and Obene gets it back to Kaminski, and Kaminski clears right-footed up towards the halfway line. Adebayo jumping, beaten by Julio. Now Estepinian just over the halfway line, closed down by Jordan Clark. Back to Julio across to Lewis Dunk inside his own half. Across to Van Heck, closed down by Morris. Forward to Hinchelwood, trying to turn away from Doughty, and puts it straight out of play for a Luton throw.
They're rattled, aren't they?
Absolutely.
They are well and truly rattled, Brighton.
Here's Doughty, having taken the throw short, finds Barkley. Barkley tackled, though, by Buonanotte, and here's Gilmour, but winning it back, Ross Barkley. Brilliantly done. Barkley on halfway, plays it back to Reece Burke. Burke sets off down the right-hand side forward to Clark. Clark brings it under control, just holds it up on this near side, flicks it inside to Burke. Burke gets a foot to it, gets a whack on the ankle from Gilmour. Just got caught there, Reece Burke. Not quite back up on his feet yet, the centre-half. So Brighton play down the left-hand side with Estepinian. Forward towards João Pedro. Back to Estepinian. Estepinian threads it through towards Gross. Gross tackled by Clark, filling in. João Pedro to Gross again. Burke almost back in position now, and Luton have marked up well to compensate for his mini absence. Here's Van Heck. Van Heck inside to Gilmour. Gilmour into the edge of the box. Good tackle by Amari Bell, and then by Barkley. Barkley then is obstructed. No, says the referee. Estepinian to Gross. Gross edge of the penalty area. Onto his right foot. Good block by Jordan Clark. Comes to Gilmour. Gilmour's volley goes sailing over the crossbar. And we've had 3 minutes of the 5 minutes of added time, and it's Luton 3, Brighton 0.
Yeah, Luton really quick to shut them down, nick the ball off of them, make it difficult for them to play their neat, pretty football. I think some of those Brighton players think that, you know, they've got a bit more time on the ball and they should be allowed to have more time on the ball, but Luton do not allow that to happen. That is the game plan. You may be great playing 6-a-sides and 5-a-sides in training and keep ball, but when you're at the Kenny on a Tuesday night, you are going to be put under huge pressure every time you get the ball.
Lokonga heads it forward towards Adebayo, tried to flick it on towards Doughty. Brighton clear, Welbeck chasing after it. Amari Bell gets it back to Kaminski. Kaminski will clear upfield, right-footed towards Adebayo, brought under control by Dunk. Here's Gilmour flicking the ball forward towards Estepinian. Estepinian back inside to Welbeck. Welbeck up towards the edge of the penalty area to Estepinian once again. We've had 4 minutes of added time. Julio now plays it forward towards João Pedro, but Obene covering across there. Obene down by the corner flag with João Pedro, clears it against the Brazilian, and it spins out of play for a Luton throw on this near side, which Obene will take his time over, and a few more seconds will tick by as we approach half-time here on BBC Three Counties Radio. 3-0 to Luton against Brighton on this Tuesday evening. Obene down the line, headed away by Estepinian, but it comes to Amari Bell, and Bell breaking forward down the left-hand side now finds Alfie Doughty with players up in support. If Doughty can pick someone out, taking on Hinshelwood. Doughty down the left-hand side, forced out wide. Doughty, Hinshelwood gets a foot in, comes back to Doughty. Doughty back to Amari Bell. Bell leaves the ball behind, then remembers where it is. Back to Doughty again, into Clark, back again to Doughty, who can't get the return pass. It goes out of play. The 5 minutes of added time is up, and it'll be a goal kick to Brighton, and the referee is ready to blow for half-time. In fact, he blows for half-time now. Well, what a first half of football that is. Luton 3, Brighton 0. 2 goals in the first 2 minutes through Adebayo and Obene. Brighton had a couple of chances, to be fair. Welbeck, I still don't know why he didn't slide in on that João Pedro cross. He just seemed to stop, and that was one that got away for Brighton, but Luton have been at it, I think is the phrase. And Barkley winning the ball back on 42 minutes has set up Adebayo for his second and Luton's third, and beyond their wildest dreams, I would say, Jeff Doyle.
Yeah, they're 3 up, and the next best chance has fallen to Luton as well, because Clark's chance when he got into the box was probably the next best one after that, and that would have been 4. I mean, it's been really, really good fare from Luton. What a half. And it makes a huge difference when you score so early on, and then if you get another one 2 minutes after that, you know, it's like
and they did start well, but I think we said at the time, yes, they started well, but Brighton were like, looks like they just got out of bed.
I don't think they knew what hit them.
No.
And Luton had done their homework and were stopping them playing and just capitalising on their weak play, and as they have done all half. You know, they've played the perfect game according to the plan. This is no fluke. This is what they would have been working on in training and been coaching all week for, how Brighton play and how that they would then deal with it and how they would force the errors and then go and score themselves. And it has worked an absolute treat. It really has. The third goal, more than any of them really, yes. Barkley sensing that they were in trouble because they were trying to play out, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they weren't quite getting on the ball, and then they decided he would go and pounce, nick it, and then it was good play between him and Adebayo, and it was a clinical finish. I mean, couldn't have gone much better that first half. 3-0 up. They'd be absolutely delighted, Rob Edwards, the Luton Town manager.
7 goals now for Elijah Adebayo. And that's 7 goals in not a full season so far, is it? He's not played every game. He's had to be patient and wait, because Carlton Morris got the nod early on, but the two together. And Jordan Clark has played well, hasn't he? This is someone who's played League 2, League 1 football and up into the Championship, looking, at home, isn't he, in this company?
I think the reason why Rob Edwards likes him is because he's an intelligent player and he does the right thing. Burke gets injured up there, and it's him who comes to cover because he's sensed the danger and he's thought, I'm going to go and fill in for him. It's things like that. It's being in the right position at the right time. It'll take him still a few more weeks to get up to speed, I think, with the Premier League, but he's fit, isn't he, too? So you can trust him, you can rely on him. He's fit and he's just a good player all round, and he's one that's probably going to get better as the season progresses. But I mean, again, and how many times have we said this? From 1 to 11, there hasn't been a bad performance tonight.
No, there hasn't. No, and if there has been a slip, it's been quickly recovered, and somebody's then tidied up and done the job. I suppose the only concern would be Lokonga on a yellow, but I mean, I'm clutching at straws to find something negative, to be perfectly honest. The new signing from Japan we were talking about earlier on, Luke, has just entered the fray. Daiki Hashioka, 24-year-old Japanese international who's joined the club from Belgium. A reported 2 million?
Yeah, about that, yeah, interesting signing for Luton. And I mean, if it is 2 million, which is what reports suggest, that's about the right price, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's a Japanese international, played in Belgium in the A-League over there, in the Juniper League they call it, so at a good level with a team called Santrudan. So he's played in a Premier League, if you like, all that, albeit nowhere near as intense as this one. I bet he's watched that first half and thought, crikey.
Yeah, absolutely. I've made the right decision. Yeah. He's got his orange scarf and that probably a club coat as well, so he's been well kitted out. But
he's not wearing a straw boater, is he, Simon? He's wearing a straw boater. Then that's it. I'm out of it.
Trick there. Yeah, yes, you're right. They've missed out. He's probably had his photo taken in front of the picture of Eric Morecambe, though. So I'm sure we've ticked a few traditional boxes. But
seriously, first 45, guys. Wow. I mean, the third goal for me, as you've just mentioned, not only does it kind of pinpoint the way Luton are playing football, not only does it pinpoint that, it pinpoints the development of Elijah Adebayo. And I think Elijah Adebayo in the last 5 or 6 weeks has almost come into his own. You can see the way he moves, and his work rate is different, and he seems like a different player. Not only that, it puts a padded layer on the cushion.
Yeah, and he's got the confidence now as well. That turn when he got away from Dunk, and fortunately for Dunk, Igor Julio was covering, otherwise he was off and away, Adebayo. I mean, Dunk, it was one of those you sort of joke about, as I said to Jeff, where he had to go out and come back in again, because he'd just been absolutely left standing. And that was Lewis Dunk. We're talking England international, and Adebayo's putting himself about. And I mean, Milner was struggling because he picked up that injury, but I still think there was an element of them having to reshuffle after 20 minutes and go to the 3 and bring Hinshelwood on. Oh, we've got fireworks over the back. Somebody's celebrating early.
It's been that good.
It's been that good having the fireworks at half time.
They said, we're just going to let them off now. We were going to wait until 90 minutes. We'll let them off now. I mean, how did Luton approach the second half? And I know that's an odd question to a certain extent, but 3-0 up, the temptation is to shut up shop. I just don't know whether that's...
No, I think you play into Brighton's hands a little bit, don't you, to an extent there, because they'll fancy all that little, tippy-tappy on the edge of the area. Let's try and, work our passages of play through a... it's like practicing on a training pitch, isn't it, with 10 defenders dotted around, and you've got to work your way through.
Yeah, if you let them play, Luke, then they will be dangerous, because we know they're good ball players, and that's why they haven't been able to do it in that first half. Luton just haven't allowed them to do it. They've absolutely suffocated them, and they don't know what's hit them. But, I mean, I'm sure you and everybody else, certainly I have, seen Roberto De Zerbi on the touchline. Even when there's a slight mistake from one of his players, he sort of runs up and down the touchline and looks like he's going to go mad at his team. So I can only imagine what he's doing at half time, because they've been ripped apart, they've been ripped open by Luton, and that'll be hurting him. He knew what was going to happen here. He spoke about it. He said he watched the games against some of those bigger with teams who came here and struggled. So he said, I saw all the games in full. I know what it's going to be like there. It's a special place. He will have warned his players as well. And the fact that they've been bullied in that first half, he won't like that.
No.
As good a players as he's got out there, they've got to deal with this kind of bullying from Luton. And, you know, again, you can be a great technical player, but if you then can't stand up to the press and the challenges and the physicality of Luton, then you don't deserve to be able to showcase your talents. You've got to be able to step up and respond to that, to then go and prove that you are an excellent player. And I think you'll be telling them that in no uncertain terms. Just because you're good on the ball, you've got to go and earn the right to get on that ball and then to go and play like it.
Yeah, spot on. Chaps, brilliant. Half-time elsewhere, Nottingham Forest 0, Arsenal 0. Actually, that game kicked off a little earlier, so that's into the second half now. The game that kicked off at the same time as Luton is 0-0. That's Fulham versus Everton, which means that the Hatters are out of the relegation zone as it stands, as long as they obviously better what Everton do this evening. If Everton draw and Luton win, obviously they'll be out of the relegation zone. So as it stands at the moment, that's exactly how it is. Elsewhere, coming up to half-time, Crystal Palace 2, Sheffield United 2, and the later kick-off, 8:15, this one got underway. Aston Villa 0, Newcastle 0. So those are all the half-time scores in the Premier League. There's other football taking place this evening. I'll run through those scores in a moment. You're listening to BBC Three Counties Radio on a Tuesday evening. The Hatters are 3-0 up at the break.
Babs Michelle.
I hate olives, never liked them. I've tried them a gazillion times. So why did I buy a huge great jar of them? Got home, opened them up and thought, all right, let's give this another go, little mouse. A quarter of the jar later.
No.
Yeah.
You ate a quarter of the jar?
Yeah.
And you don't like them?
No. I seem to like the green ones all of a sudden. I don't know what's happened to me. I don't know if it's hormonal. I mean, if someone could explain this to me.
Babs Michelle.
Join me every weekend for breakfast, Saturday and Sunday mornings from 6.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Elsewhere in the Championship this evening, Coventry 1, Bristol City 1 half-time. Leicester 1-0 up against Swansea. Couple of other games. League 1, Oxford 1, Portsmouth 0. And in League 2, Sutton 0, Harrogate 0. Don't forget, tomorrow evening we've got full commentary of Watford in action in the Championship against Sheffield Wednesday. Also EFL Trophy football with Wickham up against Brighton under-21s in the quarter-final of the EFL Trophy. Right, let's hear from Gary Sweet then, shall we? Of course, Tom Lockyer there this evening, and Gary Sweet's been talking to Justin Dealey about all things Luton, Tom Lockyer included, and of course about Power Court, and we'll hear a little more about that later on. Great news, and great to see Tom Lockyer back inside Kenilworth Road this evening. A very emotional night for everyone there, as well as they welcome him out on the pitch with a big round of applause. Let's listen to Gary Sweet talking to Justin Dealey.
Tom Lockyer was back at the club this week. There's going to be a huge banner unveiled tonight at the ground for the first time. To see him back at the club must have been emotional for everyone.
Yeah, and I'm delighted to say that Tom's going to be with us tonight as well, actually, for his first game. So we'll all welcome Tom back at Kenilworth Road, as well as the brace yesterday. But seeing him, I think, brought a tear to everybody's eye, and he's such a solid, sound, brilliant man, and so humble, and everybody cares so much about him. We're not thinking about him and football. We're thinking about him and his health right now, and his family, and his, Taylor's sort of, soon expecting, and their children to come and everything. So I think that's the most important thing for him right now. But yeah, we'll look after him as far as we possibly can. But he's in a good shape.
So nobody's actually asked you this question about that day at Bournemouth. I remember listening to it on the radio and I just felt sick. This is your captain. This is your friend Gary. You're watching Tom on the floor. You don't know what's going on. What was that like for you, sat there watching that day, if you can find the words?
One of the most difficult days of my life, because I actually, when I dashed down from the director's box to the tunnel, I actually genuinely thought we'd lost him. I genuinely thought that there were indications that we thought we'd lost him. But thanks to the miracle work that our own medical team, doctor, physios, they had to follow a process. And if it wasn't perfect, we would have lost him. And they were perfect with the Bournemouth medical team, but the paramedics as well, who were fantastic. And to get him back round in within the 3 minutes was astonishing. He was lucky to have experienced that in that environment. Probably if he was out shopping or whatever, although argument says that if he was out shopping it might not have happened, but he was lucky in that respect to have the best people around him to bring him back. But it was a horrific week following that, and I'm so proud of the team, the wider team, how everybody just pulled together, including the lads, the players who were just phenomenal. And and since then it's brought us a bit closer together. We're such a close-knit unit at Luton. The players are so close-knit, they're so tight, you sometimes can't believe they can get tighter until things like this happen, and then they get tighter, and then we get better, and then so we, without using Tom, it has kicked us on. It has brought things forward, and we've enjoyed a little bit more success with Tom's support on that, and he's saying yesterday whatever he can do, to help us spur that on even more than he would.
So is he going on the pitch tonight at half-time or something?
Plans finalised. I think if he feels up to it, I think if he feels up, we've got to bear in mind, he's a delicate being at the moment, and so if he feels like it, then we'd love him to.
Follow Luton on BBC Three Counties Radio.
And indeed he did. Great moment to see Tom Lockyer back this evening, and goodness me, I bet he's enjoying himself at the Kenny tonight. Luton 3-0 up against Brighton. Let's hand you back to your commentary team then, Simon Oxley and Jeff Doyle.
Thank you very much, Luke. Brighton are going to make a double change at half-time. It's going to be the defender Tariq Lamptey, the fullback, to come on, and the other one to come on is the good young striker Evan Ferguson. It was really only a matter of time before Ferguson was going to come on, because he's such a big prospect and talent. And the two to go off are Buonanotte, which is no surprise. He really struggled to make an impact, and Estupinan has gone off as well. Again, probably didn't track enough really in that first half, Estupinan, and that's the reason why he has become the full guy, which means that Igor Julio will go to left back, and they'll go back to four in defence with Dunk alongside Van Hex. They've been forced to make another change tactically, in defence, so he's obviously got big problems.
With a 4 back to a 3, then to a 4 again. We've just watching a repeat of the Obene goal, and he just stands and watched him, Estupinan. So I think De Zerbi, even though he was in the second minute, has remembered that until half time and has hooked him off at the interval.
Lamptey's gone over onto the left-hand side, which is an interesting one. So we'll see. Sort of almost like the left wing back, and they're keeping Hinchamwood on this right hand side.
It may actually still be a 3, but
yeah, it is. Lamptey's gone over to the left, hasn't he? So Luton kick us off then in the second half, 3-0 up after those two really early goals in the first half, and then the one fairly late on, and the second for the night for Adebayo, who's on a hat-trick. Here's Clark in the box. Clark, right-hand side, still in the penalty area, looking at options. Clark has got loads of time and space to do whatever he wants. In comes his cross near post, and Brighton have got that away. Brighton just allowed Clark to do whatever he liked in there. Here he is again, Jordan Clark, flicking it on towards Lokonga, who goes down from a challenge from Lamptey. Few little appeals from the Kenilworth Road end, but nothing doing there, and there certainly wasn't enough in it, and Brighton can pick up possession, and that's been the difference between the two sides. Luton were just allowed to almost saunter in the penalty area there, and Brighton allowing them to do so.
It's like the first half, wasn't it, for a minute?
The Hatters just won't allow Brighton that amount of time on the ball. Here is Pedro. Backwards to Gilmore, who plays in early ball forwards. Osho intercepts. Osho finds Doughty, and Doughty's going to go all the way back to his goalkeeper, Kaminsky. Kaminsky in front of the Oak Road end clears. It's one in the air by Julio, and down to Van Heck, who gives the ball straight to Barkley in midfield. Barkley now to Doughty. Doughty up to Morris on the half turn. Doughty just decided to have a think about having a run down that left-hand side, and then held it just a little bit. Morris wins a throw-in on this near side instead. So a Luton throw-in inside the Brighton half, which Alfie Doughty is going to take. Doughty assessing his options. Midway inside the Brighton half, taking his time with the throw in, Alfie Doughty, and it comes now to Clark. Clark on the chest, turns, still has it. Clark in the penalty box, plays a square pass on a good one to Obene. Obene onto his left foot, shoots, and still gets down to his right hand side and saves it. Not a bad effort from Obene. It's Luton who have the first chance.
Yeah, I thought he might go on the outside onto his right foot, but he cut back onto his left and still had to hold on because Adebayo was waiting to knock it in if he spilled it.
Steele is going to whack a ball forwards, which we're not really used to because normally they just throw it out, but maybe that tactic might just have to be missed out a few times in this second half. Ferguson thought he was fouled there for Brighton. Nothing doing, says the referee, as this ball is played up to Adebayo. Looked like he was having his shirt tucked, but he gets away in any case. Adebayo then feeds it to Morris, left hand side. Morris into the penalty area. Morris step over, then shoots, still gets a save. Clark is there, and Clark will score for Luton Town. The flag is up for offside though. VAR may well have a look, but it's not going to count as it stands.
Well, I'm not sure. We're going to have a look. Clark to me held his run. Let's have a look. Morris on his left foot, cuts back inside on his right. Oh, he might be. He's close, very close. It'll be one of those where it's half a foot, but
yeah, it may not even be that.
We'll see the lines in a minute. Let's have it. Oh yeah, he is just I think. It looked as though he'd held his run, but I think he might just be offside.
I think it's it's going to be. It looked about a foot, didn't it? Not much in it, but I think there was just enough there. It's unlucky that the first effort actually wasn't a bad strike, which still Spieled and whack this ball away now. Just couldn't keep hold of it, the goalkeeper Jason Steele. And then Clark's follow-up just saw him stray offside. If it had just held his run, it would have counted. As Brighton have it over on that far side. I'll run through the teams in just a second as Burke puts in a good challenge over on that far side and knocks the ball out of play for a throw into the visitors Brighton. Luton with Kaminsky in goal then. Back three, Bell, Osho and Burke, who've done a good job so far. The wing-backs, Doughty on the left, Obene on the right. Midfield is Lokonga, Barkley and Clark. And then up front it's Morris and Adebayo for Luton. The bench for the Hatters, Krul, Potts, Berry, Woodrow, Chong, Radakampanzu, Townsend, Johnson and the other youngster Nelson, as Luton are trying to win the ball inside their own half. Brighton's in just a second. They go back to Dunk up towards Pedro. Nice turn from Pedro. Just tries to knock it forwards towards Ferguson. Doesn't quite come off, but Pedro still might get the ball back here. Burke has to come across and cover, and Burke does and clears the ball out of play over on that far side. Still looking to get on the ball, João Pedro. And of course he'll remember his days at Watford and the rivalry with Luton as Brighton are forced backwards to Dunk inside his own half. 3-0 up, Luton lead. Lamptey is fed down that left hand side. Lamptey goes backwards and then Julio is forced back as well.
Forced back again.
To Steele. So Steele in goal for Brighton. They have three in defence: Igor Julio, Lewis Dunk and Jean-Paul Van Heck. Their wing backs now are Lamptey on the left hand side, and on the right hand side it's Hinchelwood, both substitutes. Midfield is Gilmore. Here's João Pedro just to break off. Pedro into the penalty area, stabs a shot at goal and wins a corner kick. In midfield they have Gilmore and Gross, And then the attackers are João Pedro, Danny Welbeck, and now Evan Ferguson. And they've got a corner kick over on that right-hand side with 6 minutes gone in this second half. And it's going to be Gross to take this set piece for the visitors. In blue and white striped shirts, Brighton. White shorts and white socks. Referee has seen some pushing and some shoving. Luton, of course, in the orange and navy blue. Referee is just speaking to, is it Lokonga?
Lokonga and Welbeck, I think, yeah.
Having a little bit of a pushing contest in that 6-yard box, but eventually Pascal Gross will take this set piece away to our right hand side in front of those Brighton supporters who've come up from the south coast. Gross is going to play a high ball in far post towards Dunk, back in towards the 6-yard box. It drops down and Luton should clear and do so through Osho. Good defending from the Hatters there, had to deal with that header back across that 6-yard area, and they mopped it up quite nicely. Here's Gilmour in central midfield for Brighton. Billy Gilmour, the former Chelsea midfielder who went on loan to Norwich and is now a mainstay in this Brighton midfield, who've given the ball away once again. It was Hinshelwood there who was sloppy in possession. Here's Doughty now to Adebayo. Ball is just sticking at his feet. Adebayo tonight, he really is playing so well. Here he is again, still going, runs into a bit of traffic, but the ball rebounds to Doughty to Bell. Amari Bell gives it back to Doughty. Nice touch from Doughty. In comes his early cross. Dunk is there and he manages just to volley away. Clipped forwards by Gilmour, and then Welbeck goes backwards to Gross now to Hinshelwood in the right back area, and Hinshelwood will go back to his goalkeeper. It's amazing what a couple of goals will do, isn't it?
Yeah. It did just stick to him, didn't it? So often, well, I say so often, and previously it's sort of run away, hasn't it, when he's tried to bring it under control. But on that occasion he was full of confidence.
Here's Obene now, lovely run forward from Obene, just couldn't quite feed it to Barkley, so Osho has to head away under a little bit of pressure. Is that a foul on Lokonga? It certainly looked like one. Yes, it is, and it's good for Luton because Welbeck was looking to get away there, but the referee says no, it was a foul on Lokonga.
He did well, he's got himself between Gross and the ball, didn't he? And if Gross made any sort of contact with him, Lokonga was down and gets the free kick. It was an interesting corner, wasn't it, from Brighton. Dunk, he's so tall, it was overhit, and yet he's still got the header back across goal, but it was sort of a looped header, so they had chance to deal with it. It wasn't sort of with any real force behind it.
Free kick Luton, which Gabe Osho will take. He slants one out to this left-hand side. Hinshelwood heads away. Picked up by Van Heck, the centre half, to Gilmour. Gilmour out to the left-hand side. And Igor Julio down that left side. Welbeck gets the final touch on it, and it's out of play for a throw-in. And Luton Town get the decision from our referee tonight, Robert Jones. And his official over on that far side. Thrown into Morris. Morris trying to keep hold of the ball. Carlton Morris again in a battle with Adebayo for leading goal scorer at the club. Morris won it last season, but at the moment Adebayo's winning the battle as Barkley gets away from Gross. Barkley still has it, feeds it right hand side. Obene is there. Obene clips the ball in, comes back to Obene, who shoots, deflection and over the bar. And that second attempt from Obene looked like it was heading towards the top corner. Instead it's deflected over the bar for a corner kick to Luton in front of the Kenny.
Yeah, wasn't taking any chances, Lewis Dunk there. I think Steele might have struggled because it looked as though it was heading for the corner, and Dunk just sort of threw himself at it and deflected it behind. In-swinger for Alfie Doughty. Yet to assist tonight, I think, Alfie Doughty, and Luton have scored 3 goals. Long odds on that, if you'd have said beforehand. But can he respond now? In comes his delivery, near post, flicked on, there's Adebayo! He's got the hat-trick! Elijah Adebayo is magic tonight! The big striker scores 3 against Brighton. It's another set piece. Brighton cannot handle Luton tonight. Ferocious, the Hatters, and they lead by 4-0. Elijah, the match ball is yours. Wow. I mean, it came off a Brighton head, I think, and he's just tucked it in on the line. I mean, they just couldn't cope with it. It wasn't the greatest corner. It doesn't really beat the first man, but they just flick it on. At the near post, it's João Pedro who flicks it on, and Adebayo just stoops and heads it in. The assist is from João Pedro, and Adebayo just appeared, and they were queuing up. Osho was behind him, and it's 4-0. Hat-trick for Elijah Adebayo.
Well, remember when he went through that spell last season and there were doubts over Elijah Adebayo. What had happened to him from the season before, we all wondered. Where's the old Elijah gone? Has he got problems off the field? What's happened to him? Well, he had that funny season. He actually sorted himself towards the back end of the season, and he has started this Premier League season absolutely fantastically. We mentioned a little bit earlier that the ball just stuck to his foot in that last attack, and Brighton couldn't get anywhere near him. He's absolutely flying tonight, and here he is again on the half turn, controls on the chest, and again Brighton can't get close to him, and Doughty wins the throw-in on this near side. 4-0 up Luton against the side in 7th.
Here they come again.
Morris picks up the throw. Brighton have nicked the ball off of Carlton Morris, and it's with Van Heck. Van Heck out to that left-hand side. It's asking a lot of Lamptey, and O'Bene just allows the ball to drop over his shoulder and run out of play for a throw-in to Luton Town.
Now here's the quiz question. Last player to score a top-flight hat-trick for Luton Town.
Wow.
I'm trying to think.
Steenie?
Would we be Mick or Steenie? I'm not sure I've ever seen one.
Brighton over on that far side. I'm sure a lot of people around the Kenny are probably thinking the same thing.
Lars Elster, if I can remember, getting a hat-trick, but that was an FA Cup game.
Clearance from Steele for Brighton. One in the air by O'Bene. Luton really enjoying themselves out there now as Clark is fouled over on that far side. Brighton are starting to get annoyed with the way this game is panning out, because they're really struggling to cope with the Hatters. 58 minutes gone and the scoreboard says Luton 4, Brighton 0. Roberto De Zerbi is being mentioned in the same breath as Liverpool at the moment, but his side are getting absolutely walloped as Morris feeds a good ball to Doughty now. Doughty into space, driving forwards. Doughty looks up, in comes a cross. Oh, it just didn't beat Dunk, and there were 3 orange shirts bombing in the penalty area there, and that could have been very dangerous indeed. Throw into Luton on this near side. They lead by 4-0. Kicking towards the Kenny end. Doughty gets the ball back again, has 2 players for company, clips it to Morris. Morris is onside. Morris cuts back onto his right foot. Morris still has it, across goal it goes, and Brighton are able to clear, and Luton look dangerous every time they get the ball inside the final third.
They do. Doughty's having a field day down this side. I mean, he was annoyed with himself that the block was made. I mean, it's good defending in fairness, but as you said, there were players waiting in the centre.
Here's Adebayo, who tries to get on the end of that throw-in down that left-hand side, and Brighton are forced to just smash the ball up into this gantry, which is where we are in the Bobbers stand, on the opposite side to where we used to be. So the Kenny end is away to our left-hand side. Been telling you all season, we're in a new position as Luton take the throw in. Doughty now towards Lokonga. Brighton have nicked the ball off of them, and Gross just plays it in field. Hatters are trying to win it back again. Ferguson just feeds it off to Julio over on that left-hand side. Julio into midfield, and Gross goes backwards to his goalkeeper Steele. Steele has it, plays it forwards. Gross is there. Gross to Dunk. Dunk goes backwards to Steele, and those Luton supporters giving him a bit of stick when he gets it, just to see whether he'll play it short again. And the Hatters are believing more and more that they are staying up. And on this evidence, you would not put it past them, because as it stands, they are outside the relegation zone, because they will move above Everton at this rate. Everton 0-0 in their match tonight away at Fulham at Craven Cottage.
Another change for Brighton, Jeff.
Yeah, down in front of us. It's going to be, who is it? Baleba for Gilmore, is it?
Yeah, Gilmore coming off.
Yeah. Billy Gilmore hasn't really worked for him. And Baleba will come on. It just cost a mere £27 million, Baleba.
Oh, right.
It's just incredible. I mean, João Pedro was 35.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go through it all. The one who came off, Brennan Osse, was about 8 million.
Well, they've had a sustained spell in the top flight, haven't they, Brighton?
Yeah, here's Adebayo again. Another little bit of neat footwork from him. Tried to feed away Clark.
He was offside then, definitely.
Yeah.
We're right in line here. It was a lovely turn from Adebayo. I mean, he's enjoying himself, Elijah Adebayo. I'm still racking my brains to think last top flight. It must be Brian Steen or Mick Harford. Lars Elstrup did score a hat-trick. I'm sure that was in a FA Cup game at Sheffield United.
Pull forwards from Baleba.
Or it might have been in
Deflects.
it may have been Elstrup. I can remember Elstrup getting a hat-trick, but that's the only one I can remember. It may have been when he was here. The Danish international, should have been early 90s. I saw Roger Wash earlier. I didn't think, funnily enough, I didn't think to say to him, Roger, whilst you're there, could you, the club historian, could you just remind me who the last player to get a top flight hat-trick was? Lars Elstrup at Norwich. Thank you, Luke. Yes. Lars Elstrup at Norwich, that was a league game. So that would have been, 91? 1990.
Early 90s, yeah.
I was very young.
Lokonga's fouled in midfield by Baleba, the substitute who's just come on for Brighton. And the Hatters continue to lead by 4-0. 62 and a half minutes gone in this match. And Luton, well, they can almost enjoy themselves now for the remaining half hour, as daft as that might sound. They're just a couple of points from Nottingham Forest as it stands. Luton would move up to 19 points. 2 off of Palace, 2 off of Forest, and ahead of Everton. Ball up towards Welbeck. Ferguson is trying to win the next ball, goes backwards to Hinchelwood. That's a poor pass from him, and Luton have it, but Morris is pushed off the ball by Baleba again, who's come on and put in 2 fouls and given away 2 free kicks. Luton with a set piece.
Yeah, just call Morris on the knee there, or Morris has felt his knee, but I think he's okay. He's played well again. It works, doesn't it, having the 2 of them? Morris down this sort of left-hand side, Adebayo down the centre. Now João Pedro's up at this end. Luton fans are just baiting him a little bit.
Pedro, what's the score? I think his English is good enough to
yes, I think so,
understand that.
I think he'll understand.
He did just look across to the Kenny end there. There was no smile, but there was just a bit of a look. Doughty to take this set piece then. 4-0 up Luton. Doughty, both arms go up in the air. In comes a cross, far post. It drops down to Morris. He just couldn't quite get his feet right there. It was a difficult one because it went through a crowd of players as Clark fouls Pedro over on the far side. And Clark's going to go in the book for that one. It was a clever foul to give away though, Jordan Clark, because Pedro was away down that left-hand side.
No argument about that. It's clear yellow, that. Yeah, Morris sort of landed at his feet, didn't it? It wasn't high enough for him to head. I think he thought the player in front of him was going to get a header on it, and then it sort of landed at his feet and ricocheted back off him, and he couldn't quite control it.
Free kick to Brighton, who trail by 4-0. A penny for the thoughts of Roberto De Zerbi, who's down in that technical area, all in black with white trainers. He's got his hands in his pockets. And he looks like he's had a really bad day.
They're very white as well, aren't they?
Yes. He looks extremely fed up. And I'm sure he is, because he would have drilled his players. But it doesn't look like they've paid heed to what he was saying to them when he would have warned them what it would be like here. Luton again play out nicely from the back. Bell into midfield and Lokonga forwards to Barkley. Wasn't a great pass from Lokonga, who is on a yellow, so Rob Edwards might just think about that as Baleba gets away from that central midfield area. Feeds it off to Ferguson right side. Lovely pace from Bell there. Really good turn of foot from Bell to get to the ball first. Clears away. Picked up by Gross in midfield for Brighton. He'll play it up towards Pedro. Pedro just trying a little pass towards Welbeck. It comes off, but then Luton again get an interception in, and here's Clark now. Clark to Adebayo, left-hand side. Adebayo versus Van Heck. Will he try and take him on? Or will he wait for some support? Well, Van Heck goes through him and through the back of him. Referee says play on. He got enough of the ball. Here's Gross now. Gross trying to feed it towards Ferguson. Good challenge comes in from Osho. There's Barkley, and Barkley plays a square pass to Lokonga. Lokonga with some time out there just to put his foot and his studs on the ball in no rush. Looks up. and plays a diagonal out to the right-hand side, and a good ball too, which Luton pick up with Obene. Obene to take on his man. Obeo gets past him. Obey in the box. Was he fouled there? The referee's got a decision to make, and he hasn't given it. He points to the 6-yard box instead.
Contact. There's contact. They're going to have a look, I think.
I think they'll have to be. And I think this could be close, you know. Was there enough contact?
Well, he tried to... he stumbled. And he's gone past him there. He's pulled his arm back there, and then he's...
not enough, I don't think.
Not enough, I don't think, no.
No, don't think there's enough there. There's a little bit of a coming together, but there wasn't enough.
Yeah, he kept his feet from the worst of it, which was the sort of the arm, wasn't it? And he sort of kept his balance from that. But anyway, change for Luton.
Yeah, it's a change, and it is going to be Lokonga. Again, smart from the Luton boss. He's on a yellow card, so there's no reason for him to be out there, Lokonga, in the heat of the battle in central midfield. And so Peli Radakampanzu will come on instead. Popular figure here, of course. At 4-0 up, you can now take these changes. And the other one is the other player on a yellow card, Jordan Clark. So, smart stuff from Luton. Jordan Clark, who's had a really good game, makes way, and it will be Troy Townsend to come on. Andros Townsend for the Hatters. Big round of applause from Andros Townsend for Jordan Clark, who's had a really good game tonight, and he gets a
special
big hug from his manager Rob Edwards. They both played well. Lokonga always plays well, doesn't he? Always puts a shift in, and Jordan Clark has two. Halfway through the second half then, double substitution made by Luton, who can afford it because they're 4-0 up. Here's Simon Oxley.
Half the ground thinking there, I wish I was Jordan Clark, because he got a big hug from Rob Edwards. Ball's back with the Brighton goalkeeper Jason Steele. Luton 4, Brighton 0. I must admit, when I woke up this morning, I didn't think I'd be handed over to commentary with 22 and a half minutes to go, and Luton would be 4 up. That hadn't really been something I'd considered, but there we are. 3 goals for Elijah Adebayo and 1 for Chidozie Obene. 3-0 at half-time. Adebayo completing his hat-trick in this second half, and Luton 4 up here against Brighton and Hove Albion. And in possession with Gabe Osho inside his own half, closed down quickly by a number of Brighton players, one of whom was João Pedro, who plays it against Osho, and it's a Brighton throw. Hinshelwood to take it. Hinshelwood again, but João Pedro had felt his knee go and has not responded to chasing after the ball, and then Barkley is caught a bit there by Pascal Gross, and that will just be a free kick to no, it won't be a free kick, it'll be a throw to Luton on this near side, and João Pedro has obviously felt his knee go and has now gone down injured, and there is not a huge amount of sympathy from the home faithful.
I'll tell you what's happened there, Si.
When he kicked the ball against Osho.
And what happened was he was fouled, actually. It was a clear foul on him from Luton, and the referee didn't give it, and he knew it was a foul, Pedro, so he was annoyed. So then he's gone in really hard on Osho, and he's come off worse, and he's probably jarred his knee. And Osho actually got up and said something to him, and I think it was something along the lines of, well, if you try that, you're going to injure yourself.
Reap what you sow, yes. Yeah, no, quite. He's just gone off, I think, hasn't he, João Pedro? He's not going to come back on again. Morris lets it run for Adebayo down this left-hand side. Adebayo taking on Dunk, and Dunk just gets a foot in to get it back to Steele, and Steele will clear right-footed towards Ferguson, headed away by Amari Bell, chested down by Welbeck. Welbeck trying to go between players. Barkley coming forward down the left-hand side, tackled by Welbeck. There's a Brighton player down. It's Ferguson who's picked himself back up again, and Brighton are preparing to make the change because João Pedro isn't coming back on again, and so they will make their 5th and final change, and it will be Jakub Moda, the Pole, coming on to replace João Pedro, and they're going to move Lamptey over to this right-hand side. And Luton are going to make a change as well, and Tahith Chong is going to come on for Elijah Adebayo. And the big striker is going to get a standing ovation. We think the first Luton player to get a top-flight hat-trick since Lars Elstrup back in 1990. Elijah Adebayo comes off on 70 minutes to be replaced by Tahith Chong. Now he will get a big hug. Oh yes. Big hug for Elijah from the manager. I think on the hugometer that was probably an 8. Here's Doughty spreading it wide out to the right-hand side to Townsend. Townsend jumping with Julio over on the far side, and Townsend continuing to chase as Julio brings the ball away. Brighton inside their own half. 4-0 to Luton if you're just tuning in. A, where have you been? And B, Luton 4, Brighton 0 here at Kenilworth Road, and it's been that way since 20 seconds in, Jeff, wasn't it? As Luton continue to put pressure on the Brighton defence, who just can't play their way out of their own half and are in danger of presenting Luton with another opportunity. Do play the ball forward now, but Osho is there to play it back to Kaminski, who plays it forward first time. It's cleared by Baleba, and then the substitute Moda can't bring it under control, and it's out of play for a Luton throw. 20 seconds in and they were at it.
Yeah, Luton have made them look very, very ordinary, haven't they? And this is not an ordinary team.
No,
this is a good team.
Well, this is a team still in the Europa League, into the, last 16? Brighton coming forward, but again find Osho in the way, and Osho has just caught one of the Brighton players there with quite a heavy challenge. It's a yellow card for Gabe Osho. Just mistimed the challenge there on... No,
it's a yellow for the Brighton player. For a dive.
Oh, for dive, is it? Oh, it is, yes, you're right. I beg Osho's pardon. Yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah, there's no contact there, and he's just thrown himself over Baleba. Yeah, Baleba book, not Osho. I thought Osho had caught him. They've got a better view at the Kenilworth end because they're right behind it. They could see I'm at a slight angle. Yeah, Osho had pulled away, hadn't he? And Baleba just threw himself to the floor.
He's come on, he's given away 2 free kicks, and then he's got himself booked for diving.
Well, referee Robert Jones was right on the spot there. 17 minutes to go. Luton 4, Brighton 0. Long clearance from Kaminski. Obene giving chase, hooked away over on the far side. Comes to Peli Rudder-Kampanzu trying to force his way through. That would be the cherry on the icing on the cake if he stuck one in. Amari Bell getting to the clearance first, and then Osho there to tackle Ferguson and keep it in over on the far side. Osho inside to Burke. Burke plays it forward, right-footed to Obene. Obene on the charge down that right-hand side. I thought just offside, but flag stays down. Obene back inside to Morris. Morris onto his left foot. Morris to curl it and couldn't keep the shot down. Although now the flag, after all that goes up, it would have been offside.
Yeah. So always have to keep an eye on the linesman over on the far side these days, because if it's half a chance it might be off, the flag can sometimes go up in delayed response 30 seconds later. What a performance from Luton. Again, how many times are we going to say it this season?
Free kick quickly taken, headed away by Burke, gets there ahead of Welbeck. Brighton head it back into the midfield, but Barkley's there with the challenge. Forward again by Brighton. Reece Burke comes across to clear, but it now comes out to Lamptey down this right-hand side. Switched over to the right-hand side, the diminutive figure of Tariq Lamptey. Cross comes in towards the back post. Burke's there to flick it away. Townsend will keep it in on the edge of the penalty area. Still Townsend dispossessed though by Dunk, but then Osho is there to clear towards Tahith Chong, who brings it under control and plays it out to Doughty. Doughty clips it forward left-footed, and Chong is after it down this left-hand side. Morris in the centre. Tahith Chong up to the edge of the penalty area, wrestled to the floor there by Van Heck, and the referee saying no. It's like a rugby tackle really from the Dutchman.
Yeah.
Although Chong sort of ran into him, didn't he, a little bit?
He did, but he got up to his feet quicker, and then he couldn't get around him because he made sure he couldn't. But 4-0, I'm not too fussed.
No, fair point. Here's Osho, little short pass to Barkley. Barkley holding off Gross and plays it all the way back to Kaminski. 15 minutes to go. Luton 4, Brighton 0. Kaminski launches it forward towards Morris. Dunk falling back, gets a head to it and back to Steele. Don't forget Luton back in action on Saturday at Newcastle. Jeff will be up in the northeast at St James's Park for Newcastle against the Hatters, as the ball's back to Steele again, close down by Doughty, who nearly gets on the end of the rebound, and Brighton play their way just about out of trouble, although Morris will win it back again. Andros Townsend now picks up inside the Brighton half, back to Obene. Obene, little short pass to Mpanzu. Back again to O'Bene. Reece Burke has gone charging forward down the right-hand side, but O'Bene is going to hold on to it. Yes, Newcastle against Luton on Saturday. Digital radio for live commentary from St James's Park. Here's Ruddock again, but a bit sloppy there from him and Chong. And now Gross can come forward for Brighton and try and tee it up on the edge of the penalty area. The shot is well saved by Kaminski, and then Lamptey fires it into the side netting. And that's just a little bit of a warning for Luton. And Rob Edwards is off the bench and he's bellowing at Pelly Ruddock-Mpanzu, who head bowed, looks the other way. Absolutely furious, the Luton manager, because that was just sloppy and that should have been 4-1.
Yeah, and it's been such a good performance. Luton don't want to concede a goal. They've won a clean sheet. They've been so superior. They've hardly had a chance, Brighton, and they should have scored there. And that's because Luton just got sloppy and I think just got caught up in a moment a little bit. The allays had started to ring out and they just took their eye off the ball a little bit. Got a bit complacent.
Barkley tackled there by Gross, and here come Brighton again. Luton just have to sharpen up a little bit here. Osho's made the challenge and concedes the corner. Barkley just feeling his ankle a little bit there. Just got to stay on it here, Luton. 13 minutes to go, plus added time. We've had lots of substitutions. I mean, 4-0, goodness me, ought to be okay. But let's not give Brighton any sort of lifeline here. 4-0 to Luton. Brighton corner far side. Left-hand side for the visitors. Front of the Oak Road end, whipped in towards the near post, punched away by Kaminski, comes off the goalkeeper and goes behind for another corner, this time on the left-hand side. Kaminski's ended up in the back of the net and may need a little bit of treatment or be picked up there anyway. Well, he got something on it, Kaminski, did well because Welbeck jumped to the near post. In fact, the corner's been given again over on the left-hand side, so will be swung in once again right-footed. Here comes the corner once again to the edge of the penalty area. Andros Townsend gets a foot in and puts it out of play for a throw on this near side to Brighton. Not quite sure who they were trying to pick out there from that corner. But it'll be a throw to Brighton, level with the edge of the Luton Town penalty area. Just a little spell of pressure here from the visitors. So they haven't really threatened. Lamptey looking to come forward, but he's put that straight out of play and that'll be a goal kick. That's more like the Brighton we've seen, but Luton can't switch off here, and they just did in midfield a moment ago with Pelly Ruddock-Mpanzu. Just a little bit sloppy, and then Barkley as well, unusually giving it away.
Yeah, I think just the emotions got the better of them there, a few of those players, but just wonder whether Barkley, if he is feeling something on his leg or his ankle, they might think about just giving him a rest ahead of Newcastle, because this game is over, so you certainly don't want to be, if he has got a little bit of a knock, Barkley, there's no point aggravating it.
Kaminski's clearance flicked on by Morris towards Chong. Brighton clear. Burke goes back to Kaminski once again. More live football tomorrow with Watford at Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship. Wickham against Brighton under-21s in the EFL Trophy. Here's Van Heck just getting away from Townsend. Van Heck again clips the ball forward down the right-hand side towards Lamptey. Lamptey faced by Amari Bell. 11 minutes to go. Lamptey up to the edge of the penalty area, gets in the cross, blocked by Bell. Back to Lamptey again, back to Van Heck. His cross blocked by Barkley, and it might come to Morris, but Van Heck does well to make something of it. They're trying to prod it through the centre again towards Ferguson, but away by Doughty this time, and then by Burke for Townsend to chase after. Julio is there to get it all the way back to Steele. So 2 matches tomorrow, and then on Saturday, Luton at Newcastle, plus home games for Watford and Stevenage, Wickham at Cheltenham, and MK Dons up at Barrow. As I said on Saturday, hands up who remembers Barrow. And now look where Luton Town are, playing another team beginning with B in the Premier League and beating them 4-0. This is Alfie Doughty playing the ball back to Thomas Kaminski. 10 minutes to go. Luton 4, Brighton 0 on BBC Three Counties Radio. Osho surging forward up towards the halfway line to Morris. Lays it off for Chong. Chong down the left-hand side for Doughty, still full of running. Doughty up towards the edge of the penalty area. Not everybody pouring forward, understandably. Doughty back to Chong. Now Barkley. Barkley back to Amari Bell. Bell surging forward. Still Amari Bell. Still Bell gets away from Van Heck's challenge. Doughty back inside to Barkley. Barkley plays it across to Reece Burke. Burke down the right-hand side finds O'Bene. O'Bene back inside to Mpanzu. Burke again cutting inside, driving forward. Burke, we're just overrunning it, and Brighton will bring the ball away and look to come forward from inside their own half, but Barkley wins it back. Barkley drives forward, plays it into Morris. Morris, good save by Steele. Thought he was going to add a fifth there, and now Doughty can't control it. It goes out of play. Lovely ball from Barkley to roll him in. Morris will be disappointed. That's a couple of efforts he's had that the keeper's kept out. Double change for Luton now. Ross Barkley is coming off, as Jeff suggested might happen. Luke Berry is going to come on to replace him, and Cauley Woodrow, broken hand and all, is going to come on. And he's going to come on in place of Carlton Morris, I think, because he's handing the armband to Peli Radakampanzu. Barkley makes way, so too Morris, having almost combined, and Morris, that's a couple that Steele has kept out. He's sort of gone for power, hasn't he, Morris, rather than just trying to roll it in.
Yeah. There wasn't the angle being, I think he had to do that, really.
Yeah.
He did well, actually, to get a really good strike away. Barkley doing fabulous work in midfield to win the ball initially. But when you're 4-0 up, you can afford to make these changes and take, your best player off in Barkley, who's had another fantastic game, and bring on somebody just to give him a little bit of breathing space.
Woodrow making the tackle, Doughty winning it back, Berry as well. Berry bundled over, referee says no foul. Lamptey has it on this near side. Now Belabor back to Van Heck, and Van Heck plus to play back inside to Dunk, and Dunk finds Gross to Van Heck, but there's orange shirts all around him, although he does manage to find Ferguson, and that's given straight to Townsend, who backheels it for Woodrow. Woodrow plays it back to Reece Burke. Burke clips it forward right-footed for Andros Townsend to chase after. Julio covering across, but it's not going to roll. Was it going to roll out of play? Yes, it does. It'll be a Brighton throw level with the edge of their own penalty area. Luton 4, Brighton 0. 7 minutes to go plus added time here on BBC Three Counties Radio. With you through until 10, and then the interviews will go up online. You can access them best way via our Twitter at BBC Sport 3CR, or X if you prefer. Obene down the line for Townsend to chase. Julio gets it back to Jason Steele in the Brighton goal, who again plays it out to Dunk. Dunk this time finds Ferguson. Ferguson dispossessed though by Townsend and Woodrow. Townsend tries to flick it through to Berry, but Brighton will bring it away up towards the halfway line, forward for Lamptey to chase after, but that will bounce through to Kaminski inside his own penalty area. 4-0 Newcastle on Saturday, as I've been mentioning, but then more home games. And if they play like this, Jeff, Sheffield United at home, Manchester United, obviously you never know with Manchester United, and then Aston Villa. We've talked about the importance of getting points here, and they've got a run of matches with the City Cup game as well, of course.
Yeah, I mean, if they carry on playing like this at home, they are going to pick up more points, there's no doubt about it. They're making it so difficult for teams. They did, even when they were losing those games to the top sides, they were giving them a huge game. And the point we were making about the two up front together, it occupies the defence so much. Each and every one of them knows that they're basically battling the whole game against Morris and Adebayo, because they are just such huge weapons. Now they're getting so much better technically on the ball, as well as the threat in the air aerially. They just don't give defenders any time to even have a little breather.
Osho with a free kick for Luton, won by Peli Radakampanzu. A bit too long from Osho, and he can't quite pick out Cauley Woodrow, and it goes behind for a Brighton goal kick. Three County Sport on Tuesday evening. More football tomorrow, more on Saturday. Could be quite a season. It is quite a season already, to be perfectly honest. Jason Steele with the clearance, headed away by Chidozie Obene. Now down the left-hand side, it's Belabor. Peli Radakampanzu tracking him. Gross now playing it forward, but Burke is there to intercept. Not a great pass from Reece Burke, trying to find Luke Berry. Here's Gross on the edge of the penalty area. Berry tracking back this time. Chong bringing it under control. Brighton swarm around him. He's still in there, Tahith Chong, trying to win it back, and does emerge with it, as does Berry. And they combine, and Berry finds Townsend, and Townsend's off down the right-hand side. Still Andros Townsend down that right-hand touchline. skipping forward. Townsend gets to the byline, clips the cross in, might come to Woodrow. Van Heck is there though to head it back to Steele. It's like old times there. Townsend racing away down that right hand side, but just needed perhaps just to keep going and just keep the ball down there, although it's perhaps a little early for that. 4 minutes to go plus added time as Steele clears the ball upfield for Brighton, but that clearance straight to Amari Bell, who comes back into the Brighton half with it. Amari Bell flicks it out to Alfie Doughty down this left hand side. Doughty plays it across to Reece Burke, who's had a good game as well, really, hasn't he? I know he made that mistake a moment ago, but probably wouldn't have played if Mengi had been fit. And Mengi, don't forget, the best defender on Saturday, not playing today.
Well, and add to that side, no Lockyer, no Nakamba, no Kabore, no Brown.
Yeah.
You're talking about but each and every one of them possible starters.
Obene's just felt his right hamstring a little bit there, just pulled up a little bit with a bit of tightness in that leg. Just struggling a little bit with it as Steele clears the ball upfield. That won't have gone unnoticed on the bench, I don't think.
Hopefully it's
But they've made 5 changes. Just trying to run it off over on that far side, Obene. Brighton in possession with Dunk. Gross on the edge of his own area, slip, and Pelly Rudderkampanzu tried to play it to Chong, just needed a bit more composure in there from Pelly, but Brighton still deep inside their own half, cleared upfield by Van Heck, away by Osho, comes to Woodrow, edge of the penalty area, plays it back to Osho once again, out to Berry down this left hand side to Doughty. Doughty wins the throw, level with the edge of the Brighton penalty area. As we approach the 88-minute mark, just a bit gingerly there, Obene, did he just feel it? What do you think?
If he has, he should just come off and they play with 10. I'm hoping it's cramp.
Elijah Adebayo, unsurprisingly the man of the match as he scored a hat-trick. He's now off the pitch. Here's Woodrow down in this corner in front of us. Foul there by Woodrow as he tried to win it back. And Brighton in possession with Lewis Dunk inside the penalty area. Back to Steele, to Dunk again, closed down by Townsend. Welbeck lays it off for Julio. Julio plays it forward over on the far side to Moda. Obene sticking with him, trying to do as little as possible, Chidozie Obene, and Dunk now driving forward, flicks it inside to Welbeck. Berry gets a foot in though, and then Osho does as well, and Osho was caught late, and that'll be a free kick to Luton. So a minute to go plus added time as Lewis Dunk is helped to his feet by Reece Burke. And it'll be a free kick to Luton Town, who will just be casting an anxious eye over towards Chidozie Obene. Hopefully just a touch of cramp.
Yeah, because he's been absolutely fantastic.
He has, and he's been at full pelt, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Kaminski's clearance towards Townsend, headed away by Julio. Over on that far side, it's Moda. Obene's with him, goes back to Julio, and Julio's clearance blocked by Townsend, and it spins behind for a goal kick for Brighton as we approach added time at Kenilworth Road. 2 up in 2 minutes through Adebayo and Obene. Adebayo is a third just before half time and completing his hat-trick 10 minutes into the second half. And Berry, another important tackle one, just felt that on his ankle, Luke Berry. Rob Edwards was singing his praises at Everton for some of the work he did just in those closing minutes as Lamptey races away down the right-hand side. Amari Bell will just shepherd it out of play, and that'll be a goal kick to Luton Town as we approach added time at Kenilworth Road. The job is done. How much more added time will there be? Just 4 minutes of added time.
Just keep a clean sheet now, Luton.
Yep.
Win 4-0. They got 4-1 down there. They would have bettered that scoreline today here at the Kenny, and just shows a remarkable transformation of this side
as you
since
say,
August.
With players missing, as you mentioned, those who Mengi injured but should be back for the weekend. Anderson, Nakamba, Brown, Lockyer of course, Kabore away on AFCON, although he'll be back soon because they've gone out tonight, and Ashley Giles Ryan Giles, who's gone altogether, headed off to Hull. That move confirmed today if you missed it. Ashley Giles, the former England cricketer, of course. Ryan Giles has gone to Hull on loan with a view to a permanent deal. Long ball forward for Woodrow to chase after. And then Tahith Chong keeps Brighton back inside their own half by winning a tackle on this near side. Hinchelwood with the throw towards Welbeck, who flicks it on to Ferguson. Ferguson out to Lamptey down the right-hand side, but too far in front of Lamptey, and the ball goes out of play. 3 minutes of added time remaining. Elijah Adebayo with a hat-trick for Luton Town. 4-0 against a side talking about, although it's some way off, but nonetheless talking about top four if they play to their max.
Don't look like it on this evidence, that's for sure.
They haven't been allowed to be at their max either, to be fair.
No.
Van Heck just wallops the ball forward, and that will bounce through to Kaminski.
And we talk about the ones that are missing. Kabore when he comes back.
Yeah.
The new signing.
Yes.
They're going to struggle to break into the team. I mean, the way Obene's played at right wing back, I mean, you can't drop him at the moment.
And Panzu down that far side wins the throw. Quickly taken by Townsend to Pele Panzu. Down in that right-hand corner. He's going to hold it this time, I think, rather than try anything too fancy. Pele Ruddock. No, he does try and get the cross in. Actually, Gross is there to head the ball away, and Julio wallops it away. Obene seems to be moving okay. Let's have a look at him here on the ball. Yeah, that's okay. Oh, no, he's felt something go again, but was that the muscle or just where he got a kick as he got the ball away?
I don't know why he's competing for the ball. Just stay away from it.
Is that a muscle thing, or that was more of a kick on the chin?
I think it was. But Luton are 4 up. There's a minute and a half to go. There's no need now to go and compete. Let the others do it.
Obene with the throw over on the far side. Luton 4, Brighton and Hove Albion 0. Special night at Kenilworth Road. It was already, because we welcomed Tom Lockyer back to the Kenny. Came on before the start. Big flag unfurled with his face on it at the Kenilworth end. Kaminski placing it forward for Chong. That's a dangerous one, and Gross on the counter-attack, but crowded out by the imperious Osho amongst others. How well he's played. Lace it off for Townsend. Obene wants it down that right-hand side. There's a bloke in the sort of second row going, no, just sit down. He's got another whack on the foot. That's not a muscle thing, that's another whack on the foot. Chap just say, no, Gio, stay back, don't run for it. But he didn't, fortunately. And now Brighton have given it away again to Woodrow. Woodrow edge of the penalty area. Think that's about the shot. It ricochets to Chong. Chong with the shot. It's blocked by Van Heck and will spin out of play for a Luton throw on this near side. Nearly 4 minutes of added time played on what is, even by Luton standards, another remarkable night at Kenilworth Road. We've seen a fair few, but this one is up there. They are 4 up against Brighton. Last few seconds here as Woodrow plays the ball back towards Amari Bell. Ferguson gets to it first, but it's the last touch for Brighton. It's the last touch of the game, and it's a famous victory for Rob Edwards and Luton Town. 2 up in 2 minutes, 4 up at full time, and the rest of the Premier League had better sit up and take notice, particularly those sides down at the bottom end of the table, because Luton Town mean business. Luton 4, Brighton 0.
And they deserve every single of those 4 goals and the 3 points they're going to get. The brilliant performance from Luton. Fabulous performance. Like the Championship season, where they have just throttled the life out of their opponents, who could not get going one little bit. And then Luton went and scored goals of their own. Really, really impressive performance. We've seen plenty of them already this season from Luton, but some of the ones we've seen before haven't led to points, sometimes haven't led to even a point. Whereas tonight, it's been a fabulous performance, and they've deservedly now got all 3.
Well, some stats here which George back at the studio has sent to me, and from the Opta site, so I have to credit them. Elijah Adebayo, as we said, the first Luton Town player to score a top-flight hat-trick since Lars Elstrup against Norwich in September 1990, and a first at Kenilworth Road since Mark Steen. We mentioned Brian, his brother Mark, against Oxford in February 1988. I wasn't here for that, but there'll be plenty here who were, but The first Kenilworth Road top-flight hat-trick since 1988, as Rob Edwards takes the applause from the fans, and Elijah Adebayo is clutching onto, well, a match ball. I'm not quite sure which one it is or how he or anyone will ever know, and Peli Radakampanzu has stolen it off him and pretended to kick it into the Kenilworth end. Not sure Elijah's quite seen the funny side of that, but anyway, he's got the ball back now. Elijah, now they're having a little bit of fun between the two of them, and Elijah was sort of smiling through gritted teeth and saying something along the lines of, "Yes, Peli, just give it back."
It's my ball.
Yes, and I'm going to take it home.
Yes.
Wow. As my daughter's just texted me along the lines of, "Goodness me, what a result." Words to that effect. And I think that's pretty much sums it up, doesn't it?
Yes.
Sort of standing here thinking, blimey, Luton have won 4-0. Why aren't we having street partners?
Clean sheet as well.
Yeah.
Remember, against a side, Brighton, who are 7th in the table.
Oh, yeah.
Who are in Europa Conference League. And so Rob Edwards will celebrate in front of those Kenilworth Road supporters, and rightly so. Best performance of the season from the Hatters. And they've been some good ones. But, 4-0 at home against a good side and showing that kind of commitment. And he'll be pleased where the game plans worked exactly how they would have gone through it as well. So many mentions. Gabe Osho, fantastic in central defence, as was the whole back three, actually.
Yes, they did play well, yeah.
Considering they've had to shuffle that quite a few times all the way through the season.
Yeah. Although I suppose that's helped because they're all used to playing in various different positions, aren't they? Well, and Jordan Clark as well, excellent. Morris and obviously Adebayo, Barkley, Doughty. But no, it's very, obviously you pick a man of the match and it's Adebayo. He scored a hat-trick, for goodness sake. As we've been saying, the first one since in the top flight since 1988. But you'd be hard pushed to give anyone less than an 8 out of 10. Possibly Kaminsky, because he didn't hardly touch it, but a couple of saves he had to make. Yeah, a couple of saves, but the other goalkeeper was busier, Jason Steele. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. Luton fully deserving of their 4-0 win, and I just think Brighton were just completely shocked by the experience and the performance from Luton. The intensity, isn't it? Yeah, the intensity. They've throttled the life out of them, haven't they? Absolutely played the game plan to an absolute T. Really, really impressive from Luton. And Luke, it almost couldn't have gone any better tonight. You'd struggle to think of how it could have been any better.
I think Simon said during the commentary, or just towards the end, the rest of the Premier League needs to take notice of this, and Luton mean business. I mean, what it does mean as far as the rest of the Premier League, Nottingham, I've been looking at it and studying it, and of course taking in the 4-0 victory, which is absolutely huge. But when you think that Everton have drawn tonight 0-0, so Luton are out of the bottom three. They've got a game in hand over Everton. Now, we don't know what the situation with Everton's points are, and we have to wait. We think maybe mid-February we're going to know for certain exactly what's going on there. Nottingham Forest have lost against Arsenal tonight. Crystal Palace are actually winning. What it does do is it brings Forest into it, it brings Palace into it, and Brentford on 22 points have got Tottenham tomorrow, I think. So what Luton are managing to do is not just win with clean sheets, players progressing from that championship season, they're dragging teams in, guys. They're dragging teams into that mix.
Well, Luke, what you say in the Premier League, to survive, it's a point a game and you should survive. That's always been the phrase.
Yeah.
If you're a point a game, that should normally keep you up. So 38 normally keeps you up. At the moment, Luton have played 21 and they've got 19 points. So they're 2 points off that. I mean, which is fantastic. It really is. And the way they play tonight, then they are going to win more games. And then if they can move above that point a game mark, then that gives them a huge chance. It gives them an absolutely huge chance. And as you say, it might draw a few more in. It might draw Bournemouth in again.
Yep.
Crystal Palace are still only on 24 as it stands. Brentford 22, Forest 20, Luton are on 19.
You almost want Sheffield United, and I'm being very picky here.
No, absolutely.
Sheffield United to equalise, because they'd still be 8 points behind Luton, and just haul Palace into the mix, and then Palace would get very nervy. That could be.
I'd even go a step further. I'd say Sheffield United win. I think it's got to the point, if Sheffield United even were to win, it's very unlikely because Palace are leading 3-2. What it also does, and I know that I know that Luton fans will be having this conversation. Look at the goal difference. Nottingham Forest -12, Crystal Palace -12, Luton -13. So if it comes down to it, goal difference could be a factor. 4-0, clean sheet. That's another plus tonight. I'm just picking up all the things that I think those Luton fans will be talking about as well.
Well, I think as well, it's Luton keep improving. Game after game after game. They're getting better. So it's not as though, they're trying to rustle up points here and there and they're not playing very well. But can they scrape one there? No, they're even in the games they've lost recently, they've been right in them. They've been unlucky. They've been in the games. They're getting better and better every game. So they're playing well. There is no reason why they're not going to pick up more and more points the way they're playing. That's just the way it is. This is football. They've absolutely killed Brighton tonight because they played better than them.
I was doing my GCSEs the last time there was a top flight hat trick at Kenilworth Road.
Here we go.
I was doing my GCSEs, which is, let's just talk about Elijah Adebayo. We've talked so much this season, and it's been a joy talking about it pre-match and post-match, about those players that have stood out, about those players, not necessarily the signings, because it's been lovely to watch Mengi and the Congo, and it's been lovely to watch those players really embrace Luton and become part of what Luton is. I think one of the other joys has been watching those players really push on from that championship season and even from before that. And Elijah Adebayo, hasn't had the easiest of times in the last couple of years. There have been moments where, he hasn't looked on it and he's looked distracted. Goodness me, what a night for him. And actually, he's progressed, month on month since the start of the Premier League. He's got better and better.
Well, a couple of times early on in the season, we've sort of gone, he's got to score that. And he didn't. And, you feel guilty for saying it because he's trying his hardest and you think, is he... But tonight, and even on Saturday, I was, he's got to square that to Townsend.
He's got to square that to Townsend. By the way, he really should have squared that to Townsend.
He should have done, yeah. But tonight, the first one, just watching it back again, it's a brave challenge. He gets there. The keeper's coming for it as well. And Steele, when he didn't get it, is straight to the referee. Oh, look, he's pushing me over. No, he got there first, Adebayo. Got his head to it, put his head in where it hurts, got the little touch. And then the second one, really good finish, played in by Barkley, and then just in the right place at the right time from the corner on 55 minutes. He was flicked on, I think, by Pedro, but anyway, he's just there to knock it in, and a great night for him. And he's come to the fore. Jordan Clark as well, playing in midfield alongside Ross Barkley. Barkley, who's played for England however many times, gone for millions of pounds. Jordan Clark, who's learnt his trade at Accrington, and that's not being disrespectful or taking the mickey, but that's what we've got here, is a mix of different backgrounds and abilities, but are all coming together to to form just what is developing into just an amazing season.
Yeah, Luke, Adebayo has stepped up like you wouldn't believe in the last 2-3 months, bearing in mind at the beginning of the season he was very much second choice behind Carlton Morris, just because of the way they played in the Championship. Carlton Morris was the man, he was the striker, he was the one scoring all the goals, and Adebayo was just a little step below him at that point in the Championship because he was having a few little issues and that was affecting him on the pitch. But this season he's gone from the number 2 striker to now they're on an equal playing field, and at the moment Adebayo is the one who is scoring the goals, and he has improved so much this season in the Premier League. He has embraced it, and it's great seeing him play with a smile on his face now. And then
showing some really lovely touches
when the ball's coming up to him, the ball is sticking at his
control.
feet. They can't get the ball off of him. He's getting away from markers. His touch is so much better. You can make that step up. You can develop. Some players do, some players don't. And sometimes it's about the attitude. Sometimes it's about how much work you're going to put in training. It's how much belief you've got in yourself and your own ability, your confidence. And if you stick at it, then you can get your rewards. And fair play to Adebayo, because he's proved a few people wrong. And at the moment, he is playing at the very top of his game.
Brilliant stuff tonight, chaps. Excellent at Kenilworth Road. Jeff Doyle and Simon Oxley will get reaction, of course, to that from Rob Edwards and hopefully from Elijah Adebayo as well. And you'll be able to hear that via BBC Sounds.